open nothing up, right here?
204 order, yes, reopen to separate submissions.
Good question.
You're supposed to submit a whole,
Okay.
because it was, remember, there was a third floor.
Yeah, when you fill.
And
What about
Pacerni
Pacerni?
is the minor.
That one we're gonna just, we have to
We're gonna re-vote on it, we're gonna withdraw the prior decision, the approval.
you guys voted on it, but we didn't
Which one
file
was
it with the town clerk's
Pacerni
office,
was
so
a
it never
minor?
generated
Yeah,
like a
yeah. Oh,
decision
alright.
number or
That's why you told
anything.
me to add it, after our upgrade added to the.
Yeah,
decision
yeah.
Just gonna re-vote on
Then
it.
I realized I never filed it. So,
Oh.
You do that at the end.
So we're just,
Oh,
we're
okay.
doing a redo.
Because I had down approved, well, whatever.
so I'm,
yeah.
I'm glad you brought it up because I didn't even
All right,
think
good.
of it.
Let's make sure we collect it.
And
yeah.
then,
All right,
your next
I
few
the
dates.
gavel.
I think they're Beyonce.
Okay, yeah.
So right now, August 3rd, we have 12.
Okay,
August 17th, we have 9.
okay.
And then 9/7 is open. 9/21, without the new ones, the four homeowners you have are 9/11, 6/25 butter, and the 2 SGM applications. Those are all on 9/21.
Okay,
And if I add, the
is
new
out.
applications, looking at probably like 10 or 11.
okay,
Okay.
so maybe one on
Maybe
the
one,
21st
if
and
they go
that's
that
it.
far, it's the 21st.
Yeah,
What's the
okay,
written sub date?
The sub-date is, I'm going to just guess, 8/4,
yep,
decision 8/17.
yep,
We need,
8/17.
8/17, I won't be here 8/17.
8/4,
Yeah.
8/17.
8/4, 8/17. I have
Yep.
it written down if you need it.
Thank you.
And Susan, I just want to make sure, do I have you out on, what am I doing, how much was it, 7?
me?
Yeah,
This is
I'm not out on anything. I mean-
Helen's out what time?
No, I don't think I've got anything that on.
Is this Presta too?
All right, yeah, I don't,
You ready, Mr. Chair?
you know, maybe I need to look at my
I am.
calendar again, but I don't remember anything.
Bang the gavel.
I know.
Well, gotta make sure Candace is ready.
Adam was in, yeah, I'll be at.
And Katie's not here on the 17th, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you guys can be all on your own on 17th of August.
Oh, boy, that's
You're
gonna be
gonna-
exciting.
What will we do?
Exciting. Make sure you come that night.
Well, I'll watch it on tape, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
from
Well,
my,
Keith will keep us all straight.
yeah, yeah.
Keith will do, Keith will keep us straight, for sure.
Uh,
Say the pledge.
204 Butter Lane.
Okay,
Oh, wait, what about Jim
You
Lynn?
ready, Vera?
I am ready, Keith.
okay. Good evening. Welcome to the July 20th, 2023 meeting of the Southampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals. This meeting is being held live and also via video conferencing in accordance with the Town Board's enactment of Local Law Number 14 of 2022, adopted on May 24th, 2022. Our next meeting and those following will be held in person here at Town Hall and will also continue to allow for remote participation. So we ask you to continually check the town's website for updates and any new information. If you wish to view tonight's live meeting only, please do not join the Zoom meeting and instead go to the town's website. With that, I'd ask that you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For those of you who are here with us tonight in person, in case of an emergency evacuation, please exit through the rear doors of this room to one of the staircases across the hall and continue downstairs and out through the main entrance. Please do not attempt to use the elevators during an emergency evacuation. In case of a medical emergency, the automated external defibrillator and first aid kit are both located in the hallway on this floor opposite the elevator. Restrooms are located across the hall. We will be starting this meeting with the public hearings. We have applicants and members of the public here with us live and also standing by via Zoom webinar, which is being moderated by CTV. CTV will mute the speakers on Zoom until it is their time to give testimony before the board. Please be patient. If you find that you are having difficulties accessing the hearings, please visit the town clerk's meeting portal and click on the instructions link. Please silence your cell phones and refrain from speaking to one another in the boardroom as it interferes with our recording equipment. Tonight, we have board member Helen Burgess, who will be participating remotely via Zoom, and member Bob Macedonia will be absent this evening. A reminder that applicants, agents, and members of the public speaking, other than attorneys, will be sworn in, will state their address for the record, and will offer their testimony as it relates to the application before the board. Before handing in any submissions to the board tonight, please make sure that the documents identify the ZBA application name and tax map number. The application name should also be written on your certified receipts. Unless otherwise stated at the end of each hearing, all of these applications will remain open for written comments for all purposes until a date to be announced after the hearing. Those comments can be addressed to the members of the board and sent via email, mail, and/or dropped off at Town Hall to the board secretary, Candace Cow. And with that, I'd ask for a motion to approve the minutes of our last meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Helen, you voting aye?
Said aye.
Okay, thanks. Chair votes aye. Minutes are approved. And now on to adjournments.
Okay, we have some adjournments and changes to the agenda. Item 4 on the agenda, which is, excuse me, Annette Zacco and Daisy Neves, 12 Daniels Road in Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-226-1-31. Applicant requests relief from the following provisions of the town code to legalize a 22.5 times 14.4 accessory building, frame shed, constructed without the benefit of a building permit on a non-conforming lot. 330-76D, placement of accessory building structures uses in all districts, and 330-83C yards to allow the existing accessory building, frame shed, to remain within the total required side yard for the principal dwelling and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction. Pass that to John.
All right, and without us getting jurisdiction,
John.
I'll move to adjourn this case to 8/17.
Second.
Excuse me. Which case was that?
This is number 4 on the agenda, which is Zacco and Neves. Okay. All right. Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Chair votes aye.
Okay, item 7 on the agenda, which is East Quogue 535 Realty Inc. I'll move to re-advertise that to 9/7.
Okay.
And then number 9, which is Mark H. Mandel and Jennifer A. Mandel, 474 Noyak Path in Watermill, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-66-1-2.9. I'll move to adjourn that to our September 7th meeting.
Second.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Okay, the following decisions will be put off to our August 3rd meeting. That's Alexander Vyman, Max New York Management, Matthew Frank, Production Holdings LLC, and Lee Skolnick.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Dilip Patel and Dylan will be put off to our August 17th meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, and then I'm going to ask to reopen 204 Butter WB LLC to accept written submissions.
Second.
Mr. Tudhill.
All right,
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Reopen.
okay, we have the written submissions now, and then I'll move to close it for determination this evening?
Yep.
This evening.
This evening.
Yeah, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And that's all I got right now.
Do we want to do the motion on Pacerni? Just
You
to,
said to wait to.
Yeah.
wait to-
We'll
we
do
can
it
do
now?
it
Yeah, we
now.
do it now,
Just
okay.
make a motion to reopen. people.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to reopen Robert Pacerni and Nancy Pacerni.
Second.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Chair votes aye, reopened. And I believe what we'd be doing is, I'll make a
You're gonna give a
motion.
new decision, right?
Correct, so what we're doing is we're gonna make I guess I'll make a motion to withdraw our prior decision on that application, and then we have a new decision on for vote later this evening.
Well, I'll second that motion.
Okay, Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Chair votes aye.
And then just make a motion to close. Right, did you reopen it?
Yeah, we reopened, yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
make a motion to close.
Is it gonna read it?
Eventually.
Eventually. Well,
Well-
I just made the motion to withdraw, I did it in one motion.
Okay.
Well, I can do it in a separate motion. So the initial motion that we just voted on was to withdraw the prior approval. So I'll make a second motion that it's on for decision later this
No,
evening.
I just meant to close.
To close.
You made a motion to reopen, withdraw.
Okay.
Now you need a motion to close.
think so.
Close decision later this evening.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Leonard,
Aye.
Mr. Daly,
Aye.
Ms. Burgess, Mr. Tudhill,
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I think we're good to go.
I don't know, we've never done it.
All right. Back to the beginning of the agenda on the new applications. We have Aaron Appel, 220 Flying Point Road in Watermill, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-160-1-3.21. Applicant requests relief from the following provisions of the town code for a proposed tennis court. 330-6 Residence Districts, General Regulations, that references 330-11 Residence Districts Table of Dimensional Regulations for an accessory side yard setback from 30 feet to 20 feet. 330-76D, placement of accessory building structures and uses in all districts. And 330-83C yards to allow the proposed tennis court to be located within the required minimum side yard and required total side yard for the principal building. And 330-77D, placement of accessory building structures and uses in residence districts to allow a proposed rear yard coverage of 22.3% or a maximum of 20% if permitted, and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction. Pass that to Adam.
Good evening.
Good evening. Members of the board, always good to see you. First, I'll start by saying you undoubtedly noticed the court is 60 by 120.
Right.
That was my client's preference. I've implored upon him that
Well,
that
ain't gonna-
doesn't cut it with this court, with this board, so we have, we're reducing it to 55 by 110. So consider that done, you'll have revised surveys shortly.
Okay,
Okay.
very
The
good.
side yard relief will be 5 feet less than needed, so it says 14.85. I'm sorry, it says 20 feet, it's gonna be 25 feet from the side yard, so we're only asking for 5 feet in relief,
Okay,
okay? So, that's done.
that's
So
done.
this,
Did it affect the lot coverage as well?
it'll slightly affect the lot coverage, that'll
Okay.
be updated, but the lot
Yep.
coverage, is gonna be compliant under the terms of the revision.
I understand.
So we're still in
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
kind
yeah.
of weird position on
Right,
that.
right.
Does it reduce the rear yard coverage though?
That's what we're talking about, the
Oh,
rear
okay,
yard
Yeah.
coverage,
okay,
yeah.
okay, yeah, all right, with the new,
With
Yeah,
the new-
yeah.
with the
With
new-
the new,
With the
that-
new law, it's
Yeah,
pretty
right,
right,
pretty
okay.
much, yeah, yeah.
Okay, Carl, come in.
Sure, so it's located, it's 220 Flying Point Road, it's 2 lots west of the intersection of Flying Point and Cobb Hill Lane, Watermill. It's a conforming lot size, it's CR 80, but as you can see, it's oddly shaped. The lot width towards the rear at the lowest, shortest point is only 130 feet, so it kind of the backyard is somewhat constrained. As a result, as you can see, this is well-proportioned layout, but it's very constrained, and there's nowhere else that tennis court could go. It doesn't affect the character of the neighborhood. This handout that I just provided shows the subject lot's in orange. Every lot in the neighborhood with a tennis court is in blue, or in that picture. So you can see it is the standard accessory structure of the neighborhood. It's not substantial when you consider the configuration of the lot, the shape of the lot, and the proposed build-out of the lot. I would also note that 2 lots down at 9 Cobb Hill, a variance was granted in 1996 by this board, variance 9799, which granted side yard relief for a tennis court from 30 feet to 20 feet. Again, we are asking 30 feet to 25 feet.
Is the lot gonna be sunken or screened?
It is
I'm
not
sorry, the
proposed.
the tennis court.
It is not the lot, no, the tennis court is not proposed, it's Sunshine Street.
Okay.
I would note that the neighboring parcel has a tennis court, and you can kind of see it in this, somewhat see it in this layout. That's basically 5 to 10 feet from the lot. I didn't find a variance for that, but it does exist that way. We're not aware of any complaints from the neighbors. I don't know if this board has received letters, but we certainly are unaware.
And the survey shows like a privet hedge all the way around too.
Yes,
All right, anything else?
Okay.
that's all I have.
And I just wanna note for the record too, that Candace and I did go over a lot of these applications, and the relief requested for the tennis court to be in the minimum side and total side is eliminated based on the board's decision at the last meeting. So those 2 variances were eliminated as well.
Okay,
Good.
very good. Okay, any other questions or members of the board? Is there anyone who's here in the boardroom who would like to be heard in connection with the application of Appel? This is for property located at 220 Flying Point Road in Watermill. If you're waiting to be heard, you just need to come up. Is there anyone who is waiting to be heard on Zoom in connection with this application, which again is for property located at 220 Flying Point Road in Watermill? If you are waiting to be heard on Zoom, this would be the time to let us know by raising your hand. No one on Zoom. Okay, if not, I will move that we close the application this evening, except for written submissions. The deadline for written submissions will be, I believe it's August 3rd?
Fourth.
4th, okay. Yes,
Decision-
right.
decision
On the 17th. So deadline for written submissions, end of business on August 4th, decision on August 17th.
I'm sorry,
Second?
before you vote, Carl,
Yes.
are you gonna submit a revised survey?
Revised survey, it's already in the works.
Okay.
It'll probably be next week.
Okay, so.
It's just gonna show the court 55 by 110.
110, right.
And the
And,
setback.
And further setback from the side and rear,
And lot coverage, modified lot coverage.
and modified lot
Well,
coverage.
but
Rear yard. But it may be that it's
It could be
kind of
irrelevant
a
whenever
non-issue.
it gets
but we-
filed, right?
That's
Just
correct.
waiting you.
Yeah,
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
We're waiting
Second.
for the board to.
okay.
So what,
I'm
so
sorry?
if it hasn't been filed, Katie, just correct me, do we grant a rear yard
Yep.
variance?
Yes,
Yep,
At this
and I've
point?
checked
Yes.
every single day. It's been, they've
Okay,
said this is
so
unusual.
we should consider it and grant it, as
Yes.
opposed to leave it, you know?
Yes,
oh,
for sure.
absolutely.
Okay, so it
Yeah,
will
the
be.
town board has spoken. that
Okay,
this
yeah,
is
but
what's
we're
best
gonna
for the
have to
community.
deal with it in
Yeah,
the,
exactly.
in the decision.
Oh, yeah.
Got a
Oh, you have to
motion
deal
out
with
there?
it, yeah.
We have a
Yeah.
motion, we have a second. Mr. Daly,
Aye.
Mr. Leonard,
Aye.
Ms. Kern,
Aye.
Ms. Burgess,
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill,
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you.
Okay, item 2 on the
Next.
agenda is
Yep.
Andrea Suzik, Hanges, and Costa Hanges, 18 Ocean View Road in Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-231-1-12. Applicant requests relief from the following provisions of the town code for a proposed swimming pool on a non-conforming lot. 330-6, resident districts, general regulations. That references 330-11, resident districts table of dimensional regulations for distance from street, front yard setback from 70 feet to 55.1. And 330-76D, placement of accessory building structures and uses in all districts, and 330-A3C yards to allow a swimming pool to be located within the required front yard and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Carl Benacasa, 860 Montauk Highway, Watermill, New York, for the applicant. 18 Ocean View Drive is a roughly 36,000 square foot lot located in the R40 zoning district, so it is a slightly undersized lot. And it's a corner lot located on the corner of Ocean View Road and Ridge Lane. We are asking for a pool to be located within accessory front yard setbacks and within the required front yard, and relief for same. I would note that pools are a common accessory in the neighborhood of the homes other than this one on the north side of Ridge between Ocean View and South Valley, which is the next cross street. Half the homes do have pools. As you can see, this lot is somewhat burdened given the fact that it is a corner lot, that this frame structure has been in place for some time, and its configuration on the lot limits the ability to put the pool in a really usable location in that far, it would be the back right corner or the back east corner, which would be the only conforming location for the pool. As a result, given the layout, the lot configuration, we are requesting that the pool be located in the front yard, 55 feet from Ridge Lane, where 70 is required under code. Again, it's in grounds with the character of the neighborhood. There is a home within 500 feet on South Valley Road, forgive me, on South Valley Road that does have a pool in the front yard. So it is in the character of the neighborhood. It is not substantial when you consider the lot configuration. It was not a self-created hardship. Again, the lot exists in this configuration when my clients purchased it.
I'm looking to see where the rear yard is. I mean,
So the
is there a rear yard?
That's what's tough about corner lots. So according to the interpretation from the town code, it's the narrower front yard. Across the rear yard.
It'll be here, by the right of
opposite
way.
By the right of way,
It's by
okay.
the right of
is
way.
Yeah,
the-
yeah,
is
yeah,
the
yeah.
rear yard.
That would be the rear yard, which, yeah,
Which, as
yeah,
you can see,
yeah,
given,
yeah.
even with, so this lot is non-conforming. It was conforming in the zoning just before the 84 upzoning. But even with that relief, it's still, there's nowhere to put that pool back there. When you configure that that's a rear yard
Yeah.
setback.
There's a clearing line
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
it appears area to be kept natural. The driveway meanders around from Ocean View Road, kind of sideways, and looking at it, if you forgot about where the roads were, it would seem like the pool where it's being proposed is in the rear yard.
Yes, yes.
But this is one of these situations. So, I think that's pretty much what it is, and you're also asking for, again, some setback relief. So,
That's right.
and for the setback relief, it appears that it's up to 55.1 feet from 70 feet, and the reason for that is because otherwise the pool would be very close to, or practically on top of the residence if you were.
That's it.
Going
We-
back at 70?
We wanted a safe and manageable distance between the home and the pool, and that was suggested by the designer of the pool.
And that's the 37 feet?
That's 37 feet, that's right.
Okay. That is 37 feet from the residence and 55.1 feet from Ridge Lane.
That's right.
So, I mean,
And it's a
Yeah.
moderate-sized pool, it's 16 by 32.
yeah. So, I mean, it could be moved back a little bit, but it gets pretty close to the house as you move it back.
Exactly.
So,
I have no
Yeah.
problem with this.
yeah, okay. All right. Any questions or comments from members of the board? Is there anyone from the public who's here in the room who would like to be heard in connection with this application, which is the application of Honges for property located at 18 Ocean View Road in Hampton Bays? Is there anyone who's waiting to be heard on Zoom in connection with this application, which again is for property located at 18 Ocean View Road in Hampton Bays? If you were waiting to be heard on Zoom, this would be the time to let us know by raising your hand. No one on Zoom. Okay, if not, Helen, it is yours.
I had the opportunity to visit this property. I have no problem with this application. We'll close the public hearing. We'll leave it open until August 4th for any submittals with a decision on August 17th.
Second?
Okay, Ms. Burgess,
Aye.
Mr. Leonard,
Aye.
Mr. Daly,
Aye.
Ms. Kern,
Aye.
Mrs. Tudhill.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Did I get the wrong person as the second? I'm not
Close
sure.
enough.
Close enough, okay. All right, thank you. All right, have a good night, Cole.
Okay, item 3 on the agenda is D-Hive 62 LLC, 19 Wickatuck Drive in Noyak, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-15-2-44. Applicant requests relief from the following provisions of the Town Code for a proposed one-family dwelling on a non-conforming lot. 330-84D Pyramid Height for an encroachment of 3,108 cubic feet on the east side and 5,910 cubic feet on the west side. And 330-115D continuance for a minimum side yard from 10 feet to 8.6 feet and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction. We'll pass that to Mike.
Good evening.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Karen Pape Murphy. I'm the attorney for the applicant D Hive 62 LLC. I have a member of the LLC, Jennifer Tierney, who's also an architect who will probably be testifying.
Okay, then I can
So
swear
if
her
you
in.
can swear her
If you
in.
can just state your name and address for the record, please.
Jennifer Tierney, 710 Rockridge Road, Fairfield, Connecticut.
Okay, and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, just to start out, Candace was kind enough to give me a report that I hadn't gotten about this, and there was a question about single and separate. And I actually was before the board in 2020, and I did get it single and separate. So I have the decision. I'd like to just
For a
add into
different
the-
owner.
For a different
But
owner.
it's the same thing, establishing that this is single
But
and
I,
separate.
okay, but is it
They
updated?
requested it.
What is the date on the single and separate that you have?
Um,
Because it was, what I understand is,
Right.
we need it from July, I guess it's July 2nd, 2020 is maybe the prior one?
Yep. As long
Was
as
it
you're asking,
sold to
as long
someone
as you're trying to
else without
benefit
that?
from any of the reduced setbacks from 330-115, you have to update the single and separate.
Yeah.
Okay,
You just
so-
call the company and just say, can you just update it from
Yeah.
the
What the
The date that
2020
it
to
is
2023?
to current.
Yeah, July 2nd, 2020, it was separated.
Okay,
I had
well,
a variance, but I
I
have.
understand, but but then we have to make sure that that the period of time after the variance is granted to now,
That
that
it
there
was
wasn't a
single.
subsequent,
Okay,
be it like merger issue. That's
Okay.
what it is.
I will get that updated.
Yep. And they
Okay.
should be able to do that. Might take a little bit, they should be able to do that pretty easily.
Well, from the time.
Yeah, it'll just be 3 years, so it'll
Just
probably
from
just show your
July,
transfer.
Right,
the
right.
variance, so
Yeah.
that's fine, I'm
They
sorry
gotta do
about that.
Yeah, that's okay.
The basketball hoop's gotta be
And then
relocated.
also,
Yeah.
I wanted to update that the basketball hoop, I'm handing out, surveys that there's a note now that says the basketball hoop is actually the neighbor's. And so that is gonna be removed.
Yep.
And also there's some wood, so I have that on the new, survey that was updated July July 7th, sorry. So that was something that, last minute.
Okay,
Okay, so
as
we've
long
got
as it's
that.
gonna be removed.
Yes, and it's the
Remove one
neighbors, we allowed the neighbors
Yes.
to use,
Okay.
because the property's been vacant. So anyhow,
What are we gonna do about all this, pyramid height?
okay, well, that's what we're gonna,
Yep.
talk
We're
about.
gonna
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
about that,
yeah,
and
we're gonna talk about
we're
it.
gonna listen very carefully,
Yes,
because
I
we're,
understand.
yeah, our board, particularly in recent years, we are very much scrutinizing pyramid.
Yes, I understand.
Yep.
So anyhow, there was another, thing which was in the notice, that, it turns out 33115D, that you can't go below 10 feet with a 4/10, which it's funny that, Arthur Gearhauser missed it, and I missed it too, but anyhow, luckily it was caught by Candace, or maybe they looked it up, so I just
Okay.
have a page 8, where I just put in, asking a request for a minimum side yard from 10 feet to 8.5.
Okay,
And that was in the notice, and all the neighbors got it.
okay, great.
So that was just something that, apologize.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's in the thing, so, but anyhow, but that's just one issue. The main issue here is, and I also wanted to point out that the neighbor to the east, which is 17 Wicketock, that he got a variance where he had a side, on his side, he got a variance for the side yard for an accessory setback, for decision D020113, where he got in December 3rd, 2020, he got, from 8 feet for an accessory down to 6.9. But that's not on, it's not on the property line that we share. And we're asking on the west side for the 8.5 feet. Because this neighbor has submitted a, letter in opposition, and I just wanted to point that out. And in the end, I'll submit this copy, and maybe we'll discuss it further. But we wanted to get to the main, thing here, which is, this is a very eclectic neighborhood, and, I wanted to talk, well, I guess we should talk about the pyramid first, and then we'll talk about the character. So anyhow, if you would
So,
like to
I have a
mention the.
packet,
It goes to the attorney.
So- I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
goes there
Goes
first.
to
Yeah,
the
I'll
attorney.
do it, I'll do
Okay.
it.
So-
Like,
Just
when-
stamp it in and then
Yeah.
hand
Yep,
it down.
pass them,
Okay,
pass them
so-
over.
And you can pass them out.
Okay, so
Okay.
you need one right to talk about. Okay.
So, the first piece of paper in the packet shows a diagram of the design as it stands right now. If the yard were conforming and it met the minimum square at 75 feet. So you'll see in the diagram that if the yard were conforming and had the minimum square, we wouldn't even be here because the design fits below the pyramid. But again, it's an existing non-conforming lot. So essentially, because the lot does not meet that minimum square, and is long and skinny, and along with, the approval for the septic design, the septic permit is in place, that was received, what am I in November of '21, that's also in the packet, you'll see the permit from, Suffolk County Department of Health Services is there and approved. So in this situation, the, septic is to the rear yard, and that then also then predicated, the second-story home. But this design for this house is only 1,725 square feet. So it's a small home. It's a modest-sized home. It's contextual to the neighborhood. Again, in the packet, there are images. Wickatuck Drive it's a horseshoe. It's a loop. And it's just up from Foster Memorial Beach. And it's an eclectic neighborhood. There are lots of different home types from lots of different years and times. On the very first page of the images of the houses is the home right across the street.
And if you look at it.
And if you look at it, you can see that it's 2,289 square feet. And again, the other images are just different houses, again, around that horseshoe. So it's, in my opinion, that this is a contextual home for the neighborhood. It's not oversized. If you looked at every single square footage of every single home around that loop, it falls in the middle.
And again, this property is only
Yeah.
8,061 square feet.
Right, and it's the width of the property
That
that I
is
think is
constrained.
driving this as well.
Correct.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
there's several houses. This one,
Yeah.
is this one across the street? I
Across
think?
the street,
Yeah.
and then on the
Is
second
that-
page.
Is that 8,000?
Yeah.
I think that one's 8,061 square feet, because again, it's a 1935 subdivision.
Essentially, even in this neighborhood, it's almost impossible to have any home without piercing the pyramid. There are, again, our neighbor at 17 had to get pyramid relief for their variance, and they only have a one-story home.
Yeah, well, there's a difference from, just so you understand, from our, in terms of how we handle these applications, between an application for 2,000 cubic feet of pyramid relief and one for almost 10,000 cubic feet of pyramid
Certainly.
relief. If you take a look at what we have done in the recent past, in the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, it's very rare that we go in this direction, but we'll see where the board is.
Sure.
I think you should be prepared we're gonna have a conversation about reducing the pyramid relief,
Sure,
see what can be done.
sure.
And you can't do anything about the size and the
and
dimensions of the lot.
not
but-
opposed to that.
Right, okay. Well, why don't we start with ceiling heights?
Yeah.
Sure.
Ceiling heights.
Well, again, we could start with ceiling heights. The first floor is 8'6", the second floor is 8. Again, I can change the pitch of the roof.
Is it it's two-story?
It is two-story, yes.
Yes, and
It's
it's not,
advertised as one, isn't it?
no,
No.
no. No, I have the paper.
I don't believe so, Ann.
Yeah.
Yep, proposed one-family dwelling.
One family.
Yeah, I
One
mean, I'm not
family,
saying we
Says
have to
one
re-advertise
family.
it.
Right.
I'm not saying we have to re-advertise, I'm just saying we reread it, one family.
Right,
Yeah.
single family dwelling.
Yeah, it
Single-family
said
dwelling,
one
but it's two-
family.
but it's
Yeah,
two
yeah,
spaces.
yeah.
It should have said
But it is.
single
Right.
family, not
Yeah.
one family.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, again, I wasn't
that's
saying,
good to-
I wasn't
So-
saying we had to
Sure.
But you wanna, you have a A3 that shows the height. You
Yes,
wanna
and
talk
so the
about
other
that?
thing that, just in terms of R10 for the zone, your allowable height in an R10 is 32 feet. So the height of this house is 27'9", so it is below the it conforms in every way, except for the 1.5 foot one side setback, in every way, except for the fact that it still pierces the pyramid, again, because it doesn't meet the minimum square.
And if you look,
So wait a second, on this, we're looking at this, right?
Yes.
So this is an example of if the property line
Were
Oh.
75 feet,
Right,
yes.
right,
The,
okay.
drawings that you have in your original packet and the
Okay, go with
calculations
the-
you received
Okay.
are for the lot as it is.
and then the peak roof, which is something I learned, that doesn't consider,
So-
can you explain that about the
Oh,
height?
sure. So the way that the height of a roof is calculated when it is gabled is, and this was designed to be gabled so that it would be less bulky, is you calculate the height of the roof to the midpoint of the ridge. So, again.
It's on
It is
A3,
on,
if you have A.
well, it's on A5.
A5,
So
sorry.
A5 on the,
Has this been reviewed by the building department, the pyramid calculations?
Yes,
And the height of the building?
yes.
yes.
You cannot get through.
Okay.
I have several applications that are
Okay.
very,
Yeah, just wanted to make
checked.
sure
Yes, no,
that
no,
that went
this-
through
this
downstairs
went
first.
through.
There
Yes.
isn't something on, in that respect that could be done to change things. So basically, we have what we have. So I understand maybe there's a neighbor, or maybe more than one neighbor that might be here to express whatever they want to tell us.
Sure.
I have.
So, and then
yeah,
we'll talk about it some more, because I, just letting you know, I mean, I'm,
I-
yeah,
No,
yeah,
I-
it's, yeah,
No,
it's,
it's just
yeah, it's an
understand.
issue.
She's an architect.
Um,
Fix it. You want both?
It's a lot of pyramid relief,
It's a lot of
and
pyramid
I don't think you're gonna get a warm reception from this board, from everybody on this board on it, so.
Okay, so I guess one of my questions, or the main question, would be, what would be more amenable?
A smaller, one-story house.
Well, that is,
Because this is,
but that's
this
not
is,
that's
Okay,
not
let's-
what's on the
let's-
street.
let's
Yeah,
hear what's on
but-
the- Let's
Okay.
hear from you.
but your lot can't accommodate what else is on the street. This is ludicrous. This is ridiculous, to come in here and ask for over 9,000 cubic feet on a small lot in an area. The house doesn't fit there. It belongs on a lot that can accommodate that. This lot can't accommodate that. This is, this is
Come
just.
back with 3,000.
No more than.
Yeah, and I don't wanna negotiate with you, I don't wanna
Yeah.
tell you what, what you
Well-
can come back with, it's just, this
Okay.
is just
I'm
Are
just
you
trying,
open-
I'm
are
just
you
trying to
open-
understand,
out
that's
of
all.
context.
Are you open to some sort of pyramid, because it's such a small lot?
Some
And-
sort of pyramid, but.
Come back
Yeah,
with
that's what I
something that's
understand, like, if
reasonable.
you're
Maybe,
open,
but
yes.
something that's,
I mean,
Much more
looking at
modest.
17 Wickatuck was 12,
1,200 square feet?
1,200.
yeah.
Yeah, I
1,200,
just-
12.2 cubic feet. And that's more in line with what this board generally is willing to afford.
Yeah, get averages of the pyramid that's been allowed in some of your neighboring lots, but I was by there today, I live in the area.
Yes.
I was by there today, and this house just in no way fits that area, and is just too big, too much.
I agree with Michael 100%. I think you should go back and make a one-story house and have much less encroachment.
Because even a
I
one-story,
do-
you're
you
gonna
don't
want
get a
some
yes from
pyramid
me
relief,
on
yeah.
this.
Okay, so, would the side yard of 8.5 be acceptable, the,
Are we worried about the side yard?
I'm not
No.
worried.
This
about
is a
Okay.
very
I don't
narrow
think
lot,
so.
so I
okay,
think
that's,
that
I
that's.
appreciate, I mean, I
That's fine.
appreciate
That's not
that, because it's getting, you know,
Yes, no,
I understand
yeah.
what you're saying, so
Yeah.
if we
Yeah,
come.
and I know you might be like, okay, well, show it to us, but let's say there was a two-story home, but then still had a much less pyramid.
Well,
So
let's
it
see.
really is, the discussion is about the pyramid, not whether it's 1 or 2 stories.
Yes.
Well, if you-
Again,
if
I'm
you-
just trying to,
It
Well,
can
you have to
be.
get to 4, and if you could drop it down substantially, so that the vast majority of the pyramid relief is no longer required, you know, we'll see if you have 4 votes. I mean, Mike is expressing, I mean, I think Mike is also trying to be practical, saying he doesn't, I think in his mind, he doesn't think it's possible to do a two-story dwelling and drop, get rid of 7,000 cubic feet of pyramid relief, and he may be correct about that. But you can figure out what can be done,
okay.
and come back to us. That's all.
If there's anybody in the audience.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. Any other questions, members of the board? Is there anyone who's here in the boardroom who would like to be heard in connection with this application, which is the application of D Hive 62 LLC for property located at 19 Wickatuck Drive in Noyak? Okay, you can feel free to either have a seat or go to the podium, whatever you prefer.
I'll have a seat.
Okay, very good. And I just have to swear you in, so I'll let you have a seat first.
Thank you.
Okay. If you can just state your name and address for the record, please.
Greg O'Halloran, 17 Wickatuck Drive, west in Sag Harbor.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, so did you hear the conversation
Oh,
that,
yes.
that just took place?
I did.
So basically, we've asked the applicant to essentially, when it comes to pyramid, come back, because we find it to be way too much.
Well, as I'm sure you have seen, with the 9,018 cubic feet it's pushing. So what I have done here to help you visualize the impact, may I
Can we
submit
give
this?
that to our attorney?
Oh, there we are.
And we've already kind of reached the conclusion that it's way too much, so you
Yeah,
can
I
feel
had a
free
few-
to
yeah,
add a
no,
few
no,
things,
and
but
I-
just so you know, that's where we are.
Excellent, so I will just say less than I was gonna say, but hello, I'm Greg O'Halloran, along with my wife Marlene. We own 17 Wickatuck Drive West, which is next to 19 Wickatuck. And this October, we'll begin our 30th year at 17. So we're not here to prevent the development of 19 Wickatuck on this undersized lot. We're hopeful that this neglected parcel gets cleaned up and improved. We are here to address some important issues relating to the neighborhood and our home. And we have no objections to a single-story home. Across the street from us is a single story. To our right is a single story. Behind us is a single story. And behind 19 Wickatuck is a single story.
Who actually came out and
And
supported?
we-
No, 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 no.
And we
One person
have-
at a time.
And we have a single story. Wickatuck Drive right now is at a tipping point. Our street is horseshoe-shaped, as was mentioned, off of Noyak Road. Traffic is going in either direction. At the top of the curve, you really can't see in either direction very well because of the bend in the road. Pedestrians, dog walkers, commercial vehicles, and vehicles driving too fast have become more prominent in the last few years. And why is this important? Well, adding an oversized home on an undersized lot with the potential of converting the second floor attic to be 5 or 6 bedrooms in total, plus additional cars that possibly might park on the street, will only add to the existing problem. I really wish the zoning board could see, as I have, which I did at home, the front elevation of our house side by side with the proposed front elevation to get a sense of the ridiculous height that would tower over us and block all natural light. I'm a gardener, and I need the sun. Their side elevation plans facing our house does not show the second story window at the top of the stairs landing and would render our frequently used outdoor shower obsolete. It makes me wonder if other windows on this side of the plans are missing as well. Add to that, when we step out of our kitchen door, which is indicated very clearly on the similar sized surveys, step out of our kitchen door, same side, we would have to deal with a minimum side yard from 10 to 8.5 feet. We use private well water for drinking and bathing. We have very significant health concerns regarding location of the new septic system and proximity to our well. Add the potential for extra bedrooms in the second story attic, only add to our fear. The closeness of the proposed 8.5 side yard setback from our home brings to mind the devastating Spring Lane fire, which is the next street over behind us, that resulted in 2 deaths. The pyramid law and setbacks clearly should be enforced in this matter. The ridiculous height of this undersized property is unacceptable and will be a detriment to our home, quality of life, and the character of this special neighborhood. Again, we have no objections to a single-story residence. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you for your
Can I
comments.
just have a brief response?
Sure, but
Oh, it might be
just
other
want to see if there's anybody
Oh,
else
sorry,
first.
sorry.
Okay, is there anyone else from the audience who would like to be heard in connection with this application? Again, the application of, hold on a second, D-Hive 62 LLC for 19 Wickatuck Drive in Noyak. Is there anyone who is waiting to be heard on Zoom in connection with this application, which again is for property located at 19 Wickatuck Drive in Noyak? If you're waiting to be heard on Zoom, this would be the time to let us know by raising your hand. No hands, okay.
Okay, and just a response, just quickly, the side yard that we're asking for, the 8.5 feet, is not on the property that shares the property line with Mr. Halloran. It is O'Halloran, sorry. And we actually are 12.6 feet away, and your house is 11.4, I believe, if you look at the survey. Also, you have received a variance, which I'd like to submit in the record, where you built stuff without, building permit, and got a variance.
No,
And
actually,
also, I'm not
Well,
finished.
all right, okay.
Also, my client is putting in public water. She's having the latest septic system, which I can imagine will be much cleaner than than what's
And
there,
That permit's in place.
and that permit's in place. And that, she is, as for, there are clearing restrictions here, so your house is directly the same distance as her house, would be about 30 feet. If she chooses to put up trees, she can do that now. And also, hopefully, you have a basketball hoop on.
Never mind.
Oh, okay, so
That
we'll
was-
get
that
rid of
was-
it,
yeah, that-
okay.
I
And the
never-
wood pile's
and
not yours either.
The wood pile is almost cleared out.
Oh, well,
worked-
we appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, well, no, I'm very
That's your-
respectful of that property line. And
Okay,
I'm not
great.
gonna bore the board with the deal that I had with the prior owner,
Yes.
who said, hey, no problem, if I wanted to, I could have gone way over, but I said, you know what, out of respect, I will not do that.
And you know what, while we're having this back and forth, we do want neighbors to get along.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm
Yes.
hoping
Oh, I
that.
agree.
that-
Greg and I
Yes.
have spoken.
Good,
Oh,
good,
yeah.
good.
Okay,
So-
great.
So I'm hoping that maybe this
And I'm
process
sure
will
we-
help
And I'm
that.
sure we will continue to.
And
Oh,
like
yeah.
I said,
Good, good, good.
No, don't
there's not
worry
gonna
about
be
that.
5
Okay.
or 6 bedrooms, even if they did give us the pyramid.
Well,
There's no way
I-
that could happen in the
well,
attic.
yes or
There
no?
is, no,
And
we have
also-
she's an architect.
Well,
I
and
know.
the
house is
the septic
built.
system doesn't allow for it. The septic system is only, the new septic systems go up to 4 bedrooms. So if anyone were to dare to do that, that would be very illegal.
What about the missing window that you
And-
neglected to
and-
put
and-
in?
and
Okay,
you
so,
guys can also have a
I
conversation outside
understand. I
afterwards.
just want to submit
Okay.
But if
this-
I'm 12 and a half feet from your property, if I choose to put in 1 window or 16 windows, That would be my prerogative if it was as of right.
That's right, but my argument is.
Wait, hold on.
Okay,
hold on.
so-
okay.
So why don't we have this conversation outside or
Yes,
separately
I
on
would
the
just,
phone?
Yeah,
I
the
would just
whole-
like to submit the variance that he
Absolutely.
received.
But have the conversation,
Yes.
please,
Yes,
okay? I'm
may I
glad to
respond
see this
just to
happen.
Just not here.
one single point?
Yes.
And that is about the variance that was granted, and, and it will show on my 1994 deed that transferred that that outdoor shower and trash receptacle was on the survey, passed the town of Southampton, deed transferred, I bought it. When I was law-abiding to get a building permit for the shed on the back of the property, went through all the steps, and they said, okay, we'll be out there to inspect it. They go to the shed, they said, you did a great job, it's all fantastic. I just noticed one problem, however. Your outdoor shower doesn't conform, it's a little bit too high. And so I said, wait a minute, that's on the deed, I didn't build it. It was there when the deed transferred. Long story short, I was forced to go for a variance on something that I don't feel like I should have. Nonetheless, I'm glad it passed, very grateful.
But the good thing is, all of that is immaterial to their application.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
because
that's
you
not
are.
relevant.
Which probably shouldn't have been brought up in the
All
first
right.
place, but
All
let's
right.
just leave it there.
Oh.
You know,
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
all right,
And then I
so when do we wanna come back?
how long will it take you to?
I could come back tomorrow.
Well, you're
I don't think
welcome
anyone
to,
would
we
have
won't
me.
be here.
And I just wanna put 3 letters of neighbors that, because we had to notify 5 neighbors, 3 letters of support
Okay,
of the
sure.
application, but we understand that the pyramid has to go down.
Yep.
I just wanna get that in, I'm sorry.
Yep, substantially down.
Yes, I understand.
Yes.
Understood.
Pick a date, pick a date, let's go.
So we, thank
Okay.
you for your input. I know it's a tough lot, and I appreciate it, and,
When do you wanna come back?
And she has to draw this, so
Okay.
it's up to you.
All right, so,
I would be ready to
Let's-
come back
let's look at
at your
the,
next,
okay,
when you could accommodate us.
okay. Well, our next,
First meeting in December?
Yeah, well, sorry, we've been very busy.
okay, all right, so we have August 3rd and we have August 17th. August 3rd is pretty full. It's got 12. What do you think, Candace?
That's up to you guys.
No, I would not do this third.
No, do it the
It
17th.
might, August 3rd might be okay, because 2 of those are modification requests, which may not take as long,
Okay,
so.
okay.
Well, and you'll have an opportunity
You-
to speak with your neighbor.
You're gonna have
and-
to design whatever needs to be done, but you think you'll have time?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
All right.
All
All
right,
right.
great.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, really
Okay,
Good,
appreciate
so
it.
we'll
Right,
leave
thank
this,
you.
this open,
Or,
Yeah, sorry.
and expect to see you again on August 3rd
yes.
with
Thank
a
you.
revised plan.
Really appreciate
All
it.
Okay,
right, thank
very
you.
good, thank you.
Bye.
Okay, so that is a motion, well, actually, why don't you make a motion?
I'll make a motion to leave this open, and to, see you again on August 3rd.
Second.
Okay, thank you. And
Okay,
for
thank
the-
you.
No,
Okay, Mr. Daly,
No, she was seconding your motion.
Ms. Kern,
Aye.
Mr. Leonard,
Aye.
Ms. Burgess,
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill,
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you.
All right, item 4 on the agenda is Annette Zacco and Daisy Neves, 12 Daniels Road in
Hope you did
Hampton
that one,
Bays.
Keith.
Huh?
You did that. Remember, you opened it and adjourned it.
I did, huh?
You did.
So
Very-
You're on 5
Very
then, huh?
efficient, yeah.
Trying to make sure I am. Item 5 on the agenda, Richard Kemp, 16 Birch Street, Noyak, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-5-4-14. Applicant requests relief from the following provisions of the town code to legalize an existing wood deck constructed without the benefit of a building permit. 1, 330-6, Residence District's General Regulations that references 330-11, Residence District's Table of Dimension Regulations for an accessory side yard setback of from 8 feet to 5.7 feet from the north lot line and 8 feet to 7.5 feet from the south lot line. And 330-76D, placement of accessory buildings, structures and uses in all districts. And 330-83C yards to allow the existing wood deck to remain within the required minimum side yard and the total required side yard for the principal building and non-conforming lot and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction. This
Good
goes to
evening.
Susan.
Good evening, everyone. Brian Locascio, 2462 Main Street, attorney for the applicant. As stated, the property is 16 Birch Street, located in Sag Harbor in the Pine Neck neighborhood. It is an undersized 5,000 square foot lot in the R10 zoning district, so it is a non-conforming lot. This house is a pre-existing non-conforming house. My client purchased it in the summer of 2020. As a part of that transaction, the seller was required to get an updated or pre-existing certificate of occupancy. An inspection occurred and passed that summer, but there was an issue with the affidavit that the trustee of the seller provided. The trustee then kind of was out of the picture, so we're in limbo with the town. I had a meeting this past November with Sean McDermott. We submitted a revised affidavit that was to the satisfaction of the town, but upon Sean's reinspection, he was of the determination that this deck requires a variance, because we couldn't affirmatively state whether or not it's been there since the 1957 date, although it has been there for at least 20 to 30 years to everyone's knowledge. So that led us to filing the variance before you. As stated, this is an undersized lot, pre-existing non-conforming house. We're in the process of obtaining a CO, which was the one comment the building department had. I provided some photos of the property. The deck is, it's just about at grade. It's maybe 3 to 4 inches above grade, so it's not a really an imposing structure. It's theoretically, if there's lawn there, the same activity that is happening on this deck could exist, so I don't think it's creating a detriment to the neighborhood. There's rather dense screening along the side of the deck to the neighbor, which you can see on the second and third photos. The immediately adjoining neighbor, it's his parking area where he stores his boats and parks his car. His house is on the complete opposite end of the property, so there's no real impact to the neighbor from the existence of this. It's been there for years. All the adjoining neighbors provided letters in support to allow this deck to remain. And happy to answer any questions you have.
So I'm presuming since this has been there for decades, that we don't have any information as to how the deck went up without permits?
No, I don't, and unfortunately, the owner who now owns it, he purchased and assumed this issue. The prior owner is no longer with us, so there's no one that can attest to that knowledge. So it's
The
Yep.
public's lobby.
Yep, well, no information on how it went up. I know Keith is very concerned about getting that information.
And I think it's worth noting that this neighborhood of Pine Neck consists of a lot of undersized lots, and relief is often granted for conditions like this, because these are, the Spooners built a series of cottages up and down this road. I grew up around the corner, so I personally know this house and have known this deck to have been there for my whole life.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's
Yeah.
we are where we are, so we're seeking relief, because it seemed to be wasteful to have to rip up that deck
Yeah.
for such a minor setback relief for something that's been there and hasn't created any issues for decades.
Yeah, so, and the setback, the setback that it should be is 8 feet, so
Yep.
8 feet to 7.5 feet is almost nothing, very minor.
Yep.
So
One
it's
of
really,
them, one of
really,
them is 8 feet to 5.2.
that's
Yep.
correct, and then the other one to 5.7,
And that,
which is
if you
more.
look at the aerial on the final page of my photos, you can see how it's, the living area of that property is on the complete opposite end of that lot, so there's no, I would argue it's not impacting the neighbors. That's where they park their cars. They have a little sailboat they park right next to it, so it's not like they're out there enjoying and being, bothered by their neighbors out on their deck.
Okay, all right, well, we appreciate the information, and you're just trying to get everything legalized.
Correct, yep. We're in the home stretch of getting this house to CO finally,
Right,
so.
okay, all right. So, I mean, we'll see if anyone is here on this one, but anyway, I don't have any, really, and no other questions, members of the board?
Nope.
Is there anyone from the, who's in the boardroom this evening, from the public who'd like to be heard in connection with this application? Was the application of Camp for property located at 16 Birch Street in Noyak? Is there anyone who's waiting to be heard on Zoom in connection with this application, which again is the property located at 16 Birch Street in Noyak? If you're waiting to be heard on Zoom, this will be the time to let us know by raising your hand. No hands, okay. If not, Susan, it's yours.
Okay, so we're going to leave this open for written comments till August 4th with a decision August 17th.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know you have
I have the next
another one.
so
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's why I'm not
Might as
getting
well
up.
stay.
Okay.
Okay. So then the next one is item 6, 105 Jobs LLC, 105 Jobs Lane, Bridgehampton, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-134-2-17.2. Applicant requests relief from Town Code 330-76D, placement of accessory buildings, structures, and uses in all districts, and 330-83C yards to allow the proposed tennis court to be located within the total required side yard for the principal building on a non-conforming lot and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
Can you tell us about the application?
Yeah, so I know you as a board recently made the determination that this relief is no longer necessary. However, as we noticed this and I'm still requesting a decision and we go forward with the variance. So what we have before you is a property at 105 Jobs Lane. It's a 60,859 square foot lot located in the R60 zoning district, or 80 zoning district, I apologize. So as stated, it's an undersized lot. The applicant has proposed a reduced 55 by 110 sunken tennis court. As you'll see in the last page of my package I submitted, this tennis court is proposed in a location that will abut 2 existing tennis courts on the surrounding neighborhood, so it's a common amenity to this area. We're not asking for any dimensional relief. It meets all the required setbacks. The property lines are very extensively screened. I've also provided various images where you can see that. The second page shows the backyard, and there's very tall, mature evergreen trees and hedges along the rear and side. So there is ample screening in place. Again, the court will be sunken. It meets all other relief, still honors the current 20% rear yard lot coverage, so we're not asking for any lot coverage relief. And I think that's it. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, just in terms of the locating of the tennis court and the need for it being in a side yard, is there a conforming location on this property to put the tennis court?
I believe it is in the conforming location now based on your current determination, but.
Okay, I understand,
But it is in the rear yard. It just becomes too close to the existing pool and the pool fencing, so it makes their rear yard,
Yeah.
it's an issue, because if you see the lot kind of gets narrower as it goes rear.
So we're gonna be, Katie, maybe you could clarify, so we're gonna interpret in this decision that it's in the rear yard?
Yeah, yes, it's in the rear yard, it's not within the required side yard.
Okay.
It doesn't need variances based on the 2 decisions from the last.
And it's
Okay.
totally behind the structure.
Okay, very good. No, I only asked the
Yep.
question because
Yeah.
if it was in the side yard, I'd say, well, let's see if we can put it in the rear yard, and
Yeah.
it is in the rear yard.
It is in the rear yard.
Okay.
That's kind of where we landed, if you
Yep.
remember.
Okay,
Yeah.
yep, all good.
So you can see if there's
Anybody here?
anybody here.
Yeah.
I actually went to look at, I couldn't even see the backyard.
Yeah, I mean, you can-
I mean, there's
it's-
like bamboo on
it's-
this
yeah.
right
Yeah,
of way
yeah.
that's like, you
Wow.
can't even look
It's
through it.
incredibly screened, the property, a lot of
Very
mature
screened.
landscaping, so
Very
it's,
screened, yeah.
and like I said, it's abutting 2 tennis courts on the 2 adjoining
Yeah.
neighbors. And to my knowledge, no neighbors have had any opposition. We noticed all the neighbors and we haven't heard anything.
Okay,
Backyard.
all right, well, let's just see if anybody's here. Want to ask any other questions? Is there anyone who'd like to be heard who's here in the boardroom in connection with this application, which is the application of 105 Jobs LLC for property located at 105 Jobs Lane in Bridgehampton? Is there anyone who's waiting to be heard on Zoom in connection with this application, which is again for property located at 105 Jobs Lane in Bridgehampton? If you are waiting to be heard on Zoom, this will be the time to let us know by raising your hand. No one's on Zoom. Okay. If not, Keith, it's yours.
Okay, I am, we'll close it, but I have a decision for, this application
Yeah,
right
so I'd like
now.
to make a motion to close, and then you can just read the decision that says no variances.
Well, I just said close.
Okay, motion to close. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Tuthill.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Chair votes aye.
Okay, now I have a decision in this application, of 105 Jobs LLC, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-134-2-17.2. This application is for property located at 105 Jobs Lane, Bridgehampton. Applicant requests variances for the placement of a proposed tennis court in light of recent decisions by this board regarding the establishment of yards This board finds that variances are not required for the proposed tennis court shown on the survey prepared by Timothy C. Taylor, last updated March 15, 2023.
Second.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. This is kind of like when Herb used to do the Christmas decisions.
That was very efficient, I
It's
appreciate that.
instantaneous.
All right, well, thank you all very much. Have a
Okay,
very good
thank you.
night.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Yep.
You too. Very good try. Whoever had to write the decision crazy by doing that.
Okay.
You have to basically write it that night, the next day.
All right. Moving on to adjourned applications number 8, 17 Bishop LLC, 17 Bishop Avenue in West Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-358-1-21.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm here tonight with Aram Tertunian, First Coastal. He filed the application. He's going to take the lead in this matter because of his vast experience and knowledge of the property. This property's been through a number of applications in this room. Conservation Board, we obtained a letter of no jurisdiction because of the bulkhead exemption. Everything within 50 feet of the bulkhead is beyond the jurisdiction of the Conservation Board. That permit's in place. It's also a new bulkhead that was built there some years ago. The trustees approved that. And now, because the client wishes to renovate the house and hit that 50% reconstruction rule under FEMA, you've got to lift the house up. And they got to bring it above the BFE, the base flood elevation, and Aaron will tell you how that works. In dealing with the building inspector, there were two things that came up. One, the expansion of the house by 2 feet, pushing out a wall in order to expand the kitchen, and then the raising of the roof. In this particular case, there is going to be I'm not going to call it a violation, there's going to be an impingement on the 45-degree plane, that's a sky plane that's formed by the FEMA regulation, the pyramid law that's in effect here in town. The interesting thing here is, and you'll hear Aram's talk about it, and our architect here, Chris is here this evening to speak on that as well. There's an exemption in place for existing houses or existing dwellings. If you raise an existing dwelling to comply with FEMA, you're exempt in all cases from the pyramid law, which is interesting. In this particular case, the house is being raised. The twist here is that the roof line's being changed. If the house were raised exactly as it stands today, with the roof as it exists today, there would be an impingement of the pyramid, and it would be fully 100% exempt from the regulation. But because we're changing the roof line, turning it from into a shed roof, we're going to have approximately 80 cubic feet. We're going to be approximately 80 cubic feet outside of the pyramid. The way this case was noticed, and I assume that's based on discussions with the building inspector and otherwise, there's a lot more relief noticed in this case that's really required, and that's what we're here tonight to illustrate to you, that we believe that the relief actually required in this case is de minimis, very de minimis.
And
Both.
And that figure has the building department, has this been reviewed by the building department?
No, it has not.
Okay.
No, so whatever happens here this evening, or
Yep.
whichever direction we take, we're gonna have to revisit this with the building department.
Right.
But you mean that the 80 is new and the remaining is what would be existing had you not changed the roof line?
Correct statement.
Yeah, so it is
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can
Okay.
try to get them to change their mind, but they're gonna say, you change the roof line, everything counts.
Yeah,
Right,
okay,
I mean, it's still de minimis, but it's,
yeah, okay.
So it's not just 80 then? Because
they
they
were-
changed the roof line, you have to consider everything
Yes.
that's over the pyramid.
I'm assuming that if you subtracted, 80 from 1,010,
Yeah.
that would be how much it would be if they just raised it as of right and they wouldn't need any variances. But
But
because they're changing the pitch.
They need the whole 1,000.
Yeah, but Mike is saying it's really only 80 because we could
Right,
raise it
right,
as of
right.
right.
Okay, very good. And Aram, I think unless you previously testified on this one, I set the swear again. If you can state your name and address to the record, please.
Aram Tertunian for the applicant, First Coastal Corporation, West Hampton Beach, New York.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And tell us what's going on with this one.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Here on behalf of the applicant. This application is being driven by three primary functions, as described by Mr. Walsh. The first one is the FEMA elevation. So we are, in addition to complying with FEMA, we have to comply with New York State Freeboard, which adds 2 more feet to the flood. So we're in an AE 8 zone, that takes us to AE 10. You'll note that the first floor is at 11 and point something, slips my mind right now. But, and the reason for that is there's duct work that is going between the joists in order to provide utility service, and that also has to be above the floodplain. So the house is at 11 and a little bit higher for the first floor elevation. And that is what's driving our pyramid relief. The second item is a redesign of the roof to make a shed roof that is sloped and facing south for a solar collection array system, which obviously is in support of our sustainable Southampton energy goals. And the third aspect that's driving the project is the existing kitchen on the south side of the house is only about 7 feet wide. And so we're adding 2 feet to the south side of the house to make a kitchen that's now going to be 9 feet wide, which this house was originally built either in '58 or before, and obviously times have changed. And then, as how does that expression go? No matter where I serve my guests, they seem to like my kitchen best. 7 feet is about 3 people. So those are the 3 things that are driving the application. And Mr. Christopher Jeffries, the architect, is here and obviously available for questions should you have any in that regard. This property came before the board previously for a variance of the total lot width and the minimum total lot side yard setback and the minimum side yard setback. That variance was granted in 1978 from 32 feet to 28 feet. And what we're asking for now is to reduce that to 20, I had it right here. Oh, yes, to 25.3 feet, and that's to accommodate the kitchen. So the pyramid variance we're looking for is a variance of 730 cubic feet or 40 square feet into the pyramid. And I've handed out to you a drawing that was prepared by Mr. Jeffries just to help illustrate the point. And there's 2 pages there, and if we could just walk through that for a moment. On the first page, what you'll see in pink is if the existing home was merely elevated to comply with FEMA, then everything that's in pink, including the 195 cubic feet of roof in the upper right, would all be exempt because it's complying with FEMA. And the dashed line that's running along there is actually the new plane of the sloping roof. So you can see that we're actually, avoiding an intrusion into the pyramid on the south side of the house by sloping the roof, and that is what drives on the north side of the house a slight incursion above what otherwise would have been potentially exempted. If you go to the second page, we just call out the numbers on that to help you understand it a little bit more. You have the pink area, which is now below the proposed roof line. You have the gray area, tan area to the upper left, which is area that's now being avoided. And then you have the gray area on the right, which if they were not changing the roof line, they would be entitled to. And then you have that small green area above that in a triangle, and that's the 80 cubic feet that Mr. Walsh was referencing earlier. And those numbers are spelled out in here, and as the chairman pointed out, we, the attorney pointed out, our relief is for the 730 cubic feet because we are changing the roof line. But I wanted to illustrate for you in a graphic way that really, at the end of the day, we're doing actually, less than we could have had we just raised the house. There's several mitigating factors that I want to make you aware of. In your file, you'll find some photographs that were taken of the property and the surrounding neighborhood. And if I could direct your attention to those, they help with my explanation of the mitigating factors. And that is that this property is surrounded both on the, not surrounded, but is bordered on both the north and the south by very extensive hedges and vegetation that are in excess of 12 feet high. So the shielding of the neighbors to the north of the south is very effectively done currently with mature and vigorous vegetation. So the impact, the visual impact to those neighbors is significantly muted by that condition.
Do you guys have the photos?
No.
I was talking about,
No.
when did you submit the
No.
photos there?
Very, very beginning of the package. It is a sheet that looks like
I
this.
mean, with the application?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Don't have it.
I will give you mine.
Like the initial application?
Yeah, the initial application.
Yeah. I didn't have it, but that's why I was looking
Yeah,
at the
no.
bill.
Yep.
Does anybody else have it?
Are you talking about?
No, that's the guy who's complaining.
This is
Yeah.
somebody's.
Yeah, that's the complaint. That's not his pictures.
I'm gonna pass it down so you can look at it, but then just
We
give
have
it.
the aerial
Give
here,
it
but
back.
that's it.
Yeah. Okay.
It's 2 pages, it looks like.
Yeah. Appears to be a couple.
Can you pass those guys, these 2 down to those
Okay,
guys.
we're gonna share.
I just need the original back before we close it.
Yep.
Is this the original?
The one that's stamped is the original.
Yeah, the one that's stapled together is the original.
Yeah. Original.
So these photographs illustrate the character of the neighborhood. It's a mixture of architectural styles, a mixture of 1- and 2-story homes. And you can see when looking at the photograph of this house and of the houses to the north and to the south that there is this very mature vegetation that provides a significant and important screening for the neighbors. The other point I wanted to raise had to do with the existing garage. We're not asking for relief from the garage, but it is shown on the drawing. It's not being changed at all, but the garage itself actually also encroaches into the pyramid area, and you can see that on the drawing that I had handed up earlier. And so that is not changing at all. It's grandfathered in, it's staying the same. And
That's the portion of the house that's not being raised.
that's correct. It's on the north side,
Okay.
which would be the right-hand side of that elevation you're looking at.
But you still requesting the total side yard setback?
Yeah, we're requesting total side yard setback to 25.3,
Yep. Okay.
which is the.
Maybe you wanna talk about that a little bit?
Well, there's real need to, make a livable kitchen here. And because the house is being elevated, not reconstructed, we're stuck with the interior layout of the house as it is. We can't move these walls around because they're holding up the building. And Mr. Jeffries can speak to that specifically. So in order to enlarge the kitchen, the only choice we have is to move to the south side. Tried to make it as small as possible. 2 feet seemed as a reasonable number to do it. I would submit that the view from the neighbor to the south, it would be imperceptible, a 2-foot change. I mean, we're essentially talking about something the width of the table that you're sitting at, approximately 20 feet long. So it's really critical to the proper functioning of a modern home, and the shading and screening that's provided by the hedges really doesn't come into play. The other thing is also on the south side, because we're sloping the roof, we're actually lowering the encroachment that would occur on the south side if we just merely raised the house and didn't change the roof line. So that's another mitigating factor.
Can I ask you about you said very mature hedging.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it's very mature between 17 Bishop and 19 Bishop. Yeah, this side. This side looks mature, this side does not look mature.
I think it's a bad angle, but again.
Well, I'm looking at it from this angle too. It looks like it's pretty sparse.
Well, I've been on that site. They're well over my head and my arm.
It doesn't appear to be,
Okay. I can see what you're saying,
yeah.
but I guess that's the best angle on it right there.
Anything else here?
And I think that kind of concludes what I have to say. I think Mr. Walsh is going to walk you through the 5-part test. Or
Chris wants to talk about.
okay. Well, Chris would like to
Okay.
address you.
Chris,
And
you wanna
just-
come
I
up
think-
or
I
go
think-
to the
wait,
podium,
Aaron?
whatever you prefer?
Yes.
I think Mike said it, but it's a non-jurisdiction from Con Board?
Yes,
Okay,
that's correct.
thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, just have to swear you in unless you're an attorney. You can state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Christopher Jeffrey. I'm an architect at 11 Sheridan Road, Hampton Bays, New York.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
So is it Christopher Jeffrey?
Yes.
It is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Give us your
Um,
comments.
So the position of the existing house is biased toward the north side of the property, which is causing a lot of the encroachment into the 45-degree angle in the first place. And because we're kind of locked into that position of the house by raising it, we're trying to mitigate that as much as possible by reconstructing the roof line in a certain way to give them, number one, a building that when it's completed is going to be environmentally sensitive, more energy efficient, and more directly in need with how they want to live in the house. So that's mainly the reason why we've kind of presented the floor plan and the elevations as they are. As Aaron stated, on the south side, the hedges, that portion of the property on the south property, that grade is approximately 3.5 feet higher than it is on the north side. So that property is actually a little higher than this property as it is. Those hedges, as we've spoken about now, unfortunately we don't have a photograph that illustrates them as they exist, but they certainly are at least 10 feet tall, and they're pretty dense. Going back to what Aaron had mentioned about the south facade, we would be reducing the ridge line from what it would have been if we had lifted the house as existing to the new slope by almost 5.5 feet. It's less than it would have been if we just raised the house as is. And then going back to what Aaron had mentioned about the floor plan, the clients live nearby, actually on the other side of the existing Beaver Dam Canal as it is now. So they're downsizing from the house that they live in to a much smaller environment. So in order to accommodate their lifestyle and to make a house that would fit their needs, those requirements in order to expand the kitchen and also the bedroom at the second floor is why we're asking for this additional 2 feet.
Okay. All right, well, any questions? Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
If you'd like us to submit additional photographs of that hedge, we'd be glad to do it. Aaron described it in his notes to me as robust and thick, so I think we have an obligation to prove to you that it's robust and thick.
Doesn't look like it from the photos, but
Yeah.
I
It would be glad to submit additional photographs. As far as the five-part test, certainly I think the benefit to the applicant's clear here. Expansion of the kitchen by what we would submit to you is a de minimis 2 feet would be of benefit to the applicant, as would FEMA compliance. FEMA compliance lowers your insurance premiums. Clearly, it protects your property. So I think that's obvious on its face that there's certainly a benefit to the applicant. Is there any detriment to the character of the neighborhood? We think not. We're simply improving a house that, I believe the first house was built in 1958. It's amazing, they got a building permit in 58 and the code wasn't even, I think it was adopted 6 or 8 months, and one of the earlier building permits issued by the town. So there's been a house there, it's gonna be renovated, it's gonna be raised. I think the architectural style is consistent with the character of the neighborhood. Unfortunately, there was no way around this. We have to come for variance relief because of this impingement of the sky plane. That's the building inspector's read. Here we are, and this is our feasible way to do it, to obtain the relief. It's certainly not substantial, in our opinion. Talking about 2 feet on one side and 80 cubic feet. If we apply the exemption to our as of right expansion, we believe that's certainly de minimis. And then finally, this hardship wasn't self-created. This is a regulation that's been adopted after the property was developed. The building inspector encourages compliance with FEMA, as do the insurance regulations. So we believe that it was not self-created, and we think that based upon what you've seen with the addition of the photographs, if there's anything else the board needs, we'd like to have 10 days to submit any additional information that you may require of us, and we'd like to proceed from there. And we appreciate your time.
Any questions?
I have a question. Like, are the hedges on the premises or are they on the neighbors' properties?
Don't know the answer to that, but we can certainly review that with the surveyor.
Yeah, like they look.
It looks like it's on the neighbors.
On both sides.
Okay, no, we have to have you come up if you're gonna speak. You can come up, you're welcome to, but
Yeah.
we have to have you on the recording.
We'll put that in our, if you want to, if you know what the surveyor did, and if you can point to a survey, fine. Otherwise, we can just clear it up with the surveyor, and
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
we'll make sure we answer that question.
Yeah, in a written submission is fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. If you wanna come up, Mr. Sands, you could, it's okay. Yeah.
I'll just jump up, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
If you look at the survey, I believe your attorney pointed it out, they're clearly on the neighbor's property,
On both sides.
on both sides.
On both sides. Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, any other questions? Is there anyone from the public who'd like to be heard in connection with this application, which is the application of Smith, actually 17 Bishop LLC, Pedrick Smith, for property located at 17 Bishop Avenue in West Hampton?
Yes, Chairman.
Okay, come on up. You can have a seat or go to the podium, whatever you prefer.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Chairman Grossman, my name is John Caravella.
Okay, I have to swear you in unless you're an attorney.
I swear in all the time. I'm used to swearing in.
Okay.
I am at 626 Rex Corp Plaza, Uniondale, New York, 11556.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
Even better, I have a card for you. CARAVELLO.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, and you're not an attorney?
I am an attorney.
You're an attorney, okay, but I didn't need to swear you in, but it's all right.
That's why I say I'm used to swearing in anyway. It
Okay,
makes no difference.
no problem.
I'm here on behalf of the owner, and to speak our objection to this application and to some of the comments that have been made here this evening. I represent Kurt Dillmeyer, who's the owner of the property at 19 Bishop, which I believe is the property under discussion. My client is the owner of the infamous shrubs that were just under discussion. And if you like, my client is here, who can speak personally to his ownership of these shrubs and the fact that, as pointed out, they're nowhere near substantial. It's, in fact, a little bit on the disingenuous side to come before this board and make such a statement as if they are. The fact of the matter is that the application before this board tonight is not a minor request or a small courtesy accommodation where made necessary. What's being asked of this board here tonight is a substantial deviation from the characteristic and the planning of that neighborhood. There are no houses that I could find in my review of the area that would have any similar encroachment onto any neighbor as being proposed here. To have living space within 2 feet of my client's property on a prior variance that was for a non-furnished garage and non-livable space, I don't believe that having finished living space within such a minimal and borderline non-existing side yard is compliant with the intent of the zoning. I'd also say that there have been comments raised here tonight that I wrote down a couple. Impacts to neighbors will be minimal. They will be shielded from views from dense shrubbery, and that it's very nice of them to be asking of this board for less because they could go forward with FEMA and be asking for more. That seems to be my summary of the application brought before this board tonight. And I'm here to let this board know that none of the reasons presented so far address the need for this variance. And what I'm saying is the variance exemption is intended for distressed property owners who have been dealing with Sandy and need to get their homes and their lives and their families and everything put back to normal. If that causes a height pyramid variation, FEMA exempts that. But that's not what we have here. This is not a property that's being suffered and family traumatized trying to get back together post-Sandy. We have a real estate investment speculator who's purchased this home, who's eyeing every possible advantage, legal or not, to maximize resale value, to make a great case before this board about what a great improvement they're making. And then right after it gets done, who knows how long they're gonna own the property. The only thing I know is that my client is gonna be stuck living next to it, and my client is the one who's gonna be stuck looking at it. And my client is coming to this board to ask for your help, because no member of this community should be forced to live right next door to what is effectively a planned monstrosity. Would you want to live next to a 40-foot high structure with this framework for the solar system that it's at the owner's discretion? None of this is necessary. It's not required. This is what they want to do to maximize their property. But the detriment to the neighborhood, the detriment to my client needs to be taken by this board into consideration. And I ask this board, if you have any questions for my client, the neighboring property owner, I'd be happy to have them join me here.
Well, why don't you have your client come up? That would be.
I'm ready.
Okay, very good. Okay, so just have to swear you in. If you can state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Kurt Dolmeyer. I live at 19 Bishop Avenue.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so we heard from your attorney. I just figured you might want to say a few words as well.
I didn't know the protocol here, so.
Sure.
Yeah, this inconvenience as far as going up an additional 7 feet for the benefit of a solar panel. Now, I understand that it's very, I don't know, it can win some hearts in terms of sustainability, but I don't know about you. I've lived out here for 50 years. I don't see too many solar panels on roofs. I don't know what the percentages is in the town of Southampton, but again, I'd say less than 1% in West Hampton. So I'm stuck with an additional wall height, and this, my hedge that I've put a lot of money into and I have to have kept every year. These guys are using it to their benefit. That's just totally ridiculous. And then again, this, what you really was kind of slipped in there, if you really heard about this, the extension of the master bedroom. That is 3 feet from my hedge on my side of my property. So why should I, where my deck is in my backyard, have to listen to, a greater expansion of their living space for the benefit of a master bedroom? I just don't understand. And also, I've sent pictures to this board my house is about 6 feet lower than the neighboring property. I've reached out in an attempt to, extend an olive branch to my neighbor, and I've gotten no reciprocity in terms of, hey, let's talk about what you're trying to do. So I think that's hopefully the board sees that, because I heard in prior instances, maybe you guys should, have a conversation. I have tried to reach out, but to no response.
Well, just a couple of things I want to just clarify for the record. The first thing is that, as you may have heard in the back and forth about this, the FEMA exemption, we're not treating this as if the FEMA exemption is there, because the nature of this, because of the change in the pitch of the roof, we're treating all of the pyramid relief as if there is no FEMA exemption. So just so you know, that's not a factor in terms of what we're considering. I mean, we can certainly consider the fact that if it were compliant with the FEMA exemption, that this is what would be permissible, and that's the information that was provided to us, but that's not how we're deciding the application. The other thing I just want to mention is, I know mentioned about, there was something mentioned about, the owner being a, real estate investor and selling it to somebody else. People are entitled to sell their properties. I appreciate the fact that it may be frustrating, that someone is making an application before our board and then will sell the property and be gone, and you'll still be here. But it's not really a factor for us to consider whether people are gonna stay there, move, rent, all of those things, other than if it's like a renter where there are issues with related to zoning. But we're listening to what you have to say, and yes, we have attorneys here, and we have other folks who are here on behalf of this application, and a conversation could be had. Could happen right in the hallway right now. We could second call it, and there could be a conversation to be had if both sides were willing. So I just, all I can do is, as I mentioned in the other application, we want whenever possible for neighbors to get along, and this seems to be an opportunity to see if maybe there is some discussions that could be had tonight.
Well, Chairman, I think that's a great idea, and I appreciate the invitation. I'm certainly welcome to have a conversation with council and see where we could go with that. The one thing I have not heard this evening in the presentation is how the request being made from this board is the least restrictive request that they could make, or the last, the least amount of encroachment possible in their application. I didn't hear anything in tonight's application about the design, particularly with the solar system, being modified, or in the alternative, I also didn't hear that modification to the system is not possible. I didn't hear that this system can't be installed at a lower angle, which would obviously make for a lower ultimate height. If conversations and negotiations between neighbors are possible, those are the kinds of things that would need to be able to, right?
I totally understand. Absolutely. That's the idea, is for both people to come into it with an open mind, but we as a board can't force a resolution, but all we can do is encourage a conversation to take place.
I would request that the board consider leaving this application open and not rendering a decision on this application tonight.
We wouldn't be rendering a decision under any circumstances tonight.
Okay.
What you saw with that earlier, that is something we almost never do.
So this way we could have an
Highly
opportunity to have a
unusual.
conversation.
Okay. Well, let's just see if the other side is willing to
Can
have
I
that
just ask,
conversation.
I'm very confused about where everything is. And maybe I need to have the applicant come up again, because I don't understand, where is the master bedroom? Where is the 2 feet on your property line? I mean, am I just not reading this stuff right?
All right, hold on one second, one second, because I had a question for the neighbor.
Oh,
Do you
okay.
know if your house is elevated to FEMA compliance? I know you said your house was lower, but it's not FEMA compliant.
No,
Okay,
hasn't
but
been-
that's why this seems like it's looming. I mean, you guys said that they don't have any requirements. They do have a requirement to elevate it to comply with FEMA. I mean, that's driving this, and I think what they're saying
I
is,
get that.
since we have to elevate it, we're gonna do a small addition. So there is this isn't just like, oh, we just wanna do this. They have to comply with FEMA. Isn't that what you guys said?
Which would
Once
be
you
the
do
same case
it-
for you if you
yeah.
renovated your house.
But we all talked about the roof line being changed, and in addition to, while they're all talking about all these other things, FEMA getting raised, they're talking about extending livable space
Right.
to my detriment. So it's
That's
important to
kind of
look
what
at
I
the
don't
nuances to what they're talking about. I'm all for the improvement of the property. Make no mistake, right? That benefits me in the long
Sure.
run, right? I just don't wanna be staring at a 40-foot wall, period, end of story.
I understand, but the other thing I just want to mention, and I've dealt with this in other applications over the years, where one neighbor, that like, there's a community where generally things are not FEMA compliant, and then one of the neighbors has to raise it because they're doing a renovation. And, the one thing I say to folks, we want people to comply with FEMA, we want people to raise their houses, we don't want people to have their houses wrecked from a storm. So sometimes the character of the community today may be something that's gonna be very different 10 years from now, because people are gonna be renovating their homes and having to raise them. So I just wanna mention that for what it's worth.
And I'm all for that, I just don't understand the addition for a solar panel. So the entire, again, last 6 feet, to my detriment to the north, is for the benefit of a solar panel, of which I don't see anywhere in West Hampton. That's all.
Well, unfortunately, whether or not they put a solar array on their roof is not really within the purview of this board.
Unless it impacts the pyramid in some way.
Yeah, it does impact.
Right.
the
Or
pyramid.
impacts the height.
Right, right.
Which is,
Right.
here.
Which is what he's doing.
All right, well, let's let Aram explain
not-
Susan's question about
Yeah,
where.
I don't know where anything
Let's
is.
find out what the smile's about, come on, Aaron.
Point of information, I believe the attorney reversed directions. The 2-foot addition will be on the south side of the house, not on the north side.
Right.
And the part of the building that's closest to Mr. Dillmeyer's property is the garage, which is not changing at all.
Okay, so the garage is already 3.2 feet or whatever it is.
That's correct.
from the-
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's not being modified, that exists and that's not being
Yeah.
expanded.
That's
Another-
not being converted to
Right.
habitable space, because
No.
that was something.
No,
So
no,
it's
no.
not being made into a master suite or a blah, blah, blah.
No.
So the kitchen is on the other side,
Okay.
and that's the 2 feet.
So the other thing, it's an interesting question that John raised. Do the pyramid, do the solar panels themselves impact the pyramid in any way?
Only in the area where we're requesting relief.
In that small 80 cubic
Yes.
foot area. And it doesn't affect the height.
No.
Right.
But it may be that some of the panels, the solar panels are within that pyramid area, it sounds to me like
Yes,
they are.
they will be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So-
without the panels, there'd be a little
Mike,
bit less.
I have a
pyramid.
question for the neighbor. So your property is situated in which direction?
North.
Here, here, right
You're
here,
on the north.
right here.
Ranch style,
Oh, I don't have.
5 feet below my neighbor currently.
He's on the wrong survey, so.
I'm looking at the wrong survey.
Yes, here you go.
Here
take
we
a look.
go. I've got it right here. Oh, I see. Okay. So really,
To the last house on the
I
water
don't even know what this is from.
Yes.
I just leave
I'm
that
looking
up.
at. I don't even know what I'm looking at.
No.
Okay, get rid of that.
Yeah.
I got it. Yeah,
Okay.
this is Mr. Domeyer. Okay.
All right, so I guess the other question is, are you folks willing to have a conversation tonight?
Or.
I don't mean to put anybody on the spot, but you're all here, we're talking about it.
Rather than waste the board's time, I'd suggest, I don't know, I'm glad to go outside if you want me to do that and hear what they have to say.
I don't think there would be any harm in it.
We're always willing to speak about things.
Okay.
That's,
Well, particularly because the neighbor said he tried and there was no, at least, well, I don't know how he tried, but he wanted to have a conversation and it
The other
didn't
thing
take
is
place.
that if the hedges are all on the neighbor's property, I think there has to be some kind of a requirement for you to maintain some screening because.
On your own property.
On your own
in
property,
other
and
words,
I think you.
build a hedge on our side. Is that what you're saying?
Well, trees or whatever, but I think, you should really give that some serious
How
consideration.
tall is the hedge on your side, Mr. Domeyer? Would you say, if you know?
About 8 feet,
Yeah,
when
and
it's,
that's not
when
gonna-
it's
yeah.
freshly cut.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's not gonna screen, for the, so, maybe some different kind of, but I think you've gotta take some responsibility for some screening on both sides. of the property.
We can certainly look at that.
Yeah. But in any case, if you are all willing to have a conversation, we can second call it. You can go out
Or-
and have a
or you can
conversation.
come back.
Or you come back.
Adjourn it and come back, which
Yeah.
may,
Yeah, I'm
may
think-
work
I'm
out.
And it
thinking
looks like
that-
there may be somebody else who wants to be heard in connection with this
Yep.
application as well, so.
Yeah, since there's someone else, I think what we're gonna wind up doing is coming back, my sense of it is.
Okay.
Because we'd like to put this on paper, we'd like to answer these questions. I heard a lot of things tonight which are just inaccurate for whatever reason. Maybe a misunderstanding of the application, I don't know, but we're gonna have to clear that up.
Okay, so we have, it looks like someone else who'd like to be heard, so whoever, if you'd like to come up,
you
either
for
or
your
both
time.
of you?
Yeah,
Yes, thank you for your comments.
Thank you for your comments.
Appreciate it. Okay.
Sorry, I'm running on fumes. I'm outside working all day. And
Wow, okay.
I,
All right, well,
try to
appreciate your staying with us. Well,
I'm not an attorney. I didn't even take my LSATs, so.
Wow, okay.
Oh my goodness.
All right, you can have a
will
seat or go to the podium, whatever you prefer.
You can
We
sit
have to
down.
swear you
Do you
in.
mind? Yeah, yeah.
But we do have to swear you in, so I'll swear you both in.
Okay.
Okay,
You
so
can
if you
come
just
sit
state your
down.
name and address for the record, please.
Stretch
Oh,
out.
got it.
Mark Baracus, 15 Bishop Avenue, West Hampton.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, if I can swear you in as well, if you can just state your name and address for the record, please.
Megan Baracus, 15 Bishop Avenue.
Okay, and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
So whoever would like to go first, or,
Okay, so, I'm a subcontract for builders, and for 21 years, we've been handling, site drainage, stormwater management and whatnot. And when I look at site plans, I see various things which may be missing, which may need to be on there. And I know there's a system of checks and balances, in the town, but, you know, I've been observing your meetings for the past 3 weeks. And, you know, the most poignant case presented would have been that by Lori Wiltshire, for which she is the agent of homeowners whom are being denied their C of O due to the fact that the town building department completely missed that the building site was in a FEMA flood zone, thereby initially approving the new home's first floor level to exist at an elevation well below BFE+2, inclusive of mechanicals which were installed in the home cellar. Now that the structure has been built, the building department is currently mandating a relief via your board, and this will all dovetail in here. To issue a final sign-off. I witnessed the genuine consideration of this board regarding this incredulous and unprecedented matter, which at some point in the near future, you seven will have to decide upon. This segues into our situation at hand. And in observing and foying the files on hand, you have a handful of different, like you have a survey here from Floyd Carrington, which has no spot elevations. Now I know that the raise of the first floor living area is determined, you know, at BFE+2, and in a flood zone, it's not the average of the elevations, you know, to determine the sky plane. All right. So what I'm trying to get at here is there's a survey into your department here, and your board here, that doesn't show any existing septic system. It doesn't show any elevations at all, not even the corner elevations. It's just devoid of a lot of important information. How do you actually, Chris Jeffries, the architectural plans, separate from the survey, show that the current first floor living area is 5.75 feet above sea level, okay? That's the base number, and then you go up to 11. How do we know that the existing floor currently lives at 5.75? Because Chris Jeffries is not, I mean, I'm sure you're an amazing architect, but he's not a surveyor, he's not licensed or certified to shoot spot elevations. So how is it known where the house exists now, and how much it's got to be raised to get to 11 feet finally as a first floor living area? And because, you know, when you push something up from a benchmark grade, the further you push it up, the more you're gonna maybe go through the sky plane, or so, you know, also there also exists no, and I'm gonna read a little bit because I don't wanna, you know, have to keep saying I digress, and, you know, because I'm tired, I haven't eaten since 11:30 this morning.
Have some food, definitely have some food.
Yeah, talk to my wife, she's always yelling at me.
Yeah, not good, not good.
Okay, so I'm just gonna, and, you know, there also exists notation on the architectural plans, carte blanche style, in verbatim form, raised grade as required in capital letters. And these are plans which I checked with Candace yesterday, I believe, and as of yesterday, there had been no new plans submitted. So I always want to make sure I'm referencing the plans that you folks have, you know, in your files. So, we're in a flood zone, and to approve any plan specifying a blank check relating to changing the grade on a site and thereby manipulating storm and sheet water runoff onto adjacent properties.
Blank check?
Well, raise grade as required, so if you don't.
Okay, but it's not. So we have plans that are submitted, we have a that is with a application. We generally will have plans submitted, we'll have a survey submitted, we'll have whatever submitted. So, and ultimately, any relief that is granted, if it's granted, refers to those plans or that survey.
Yes.
So it's not general, it's specific.
Yeah, but the survey has absolutely no elevations on it. And a surveyor like Floyd Carrington, who's their surveyor, is the only one who's allowed to go say this is where this grade.
Well,
and
I'll check with the building department on that, but I think you should tell the board what you object to, other than the fact that maybe there's information missing, you know, like what is it, or don't you object?
well, they're topographical contour lines on the south side of the property, which we know are incorrect. The top one is at 10, and see, we just took 2.5 years to get a building permit. We did not need to get a variance. But Young and Young shot the corners of our homes, and we're about 7 feet from their property line, and we can tell that where they have on their plans, they're saying the grade is like 10. It's lower than the corner of our house at 8.05. So what I'm objecting to is the inaccuracy, the gross inaccuracy of important variables on the plans, and also relating to the septic. Okay.
Mark, can I interject for 1 sec? I think just because the primary consideration of the variance was the pyramid law, right? So to consider that without actually knowing what that elevation is seems premature. And at the same time, it's relevant to actually denote that there is a major runoff problem that we're already having in our properties. I think Mr. Dillmeyer would have explained that his is even worse potentially. So even though these may be disconnected somewhat by the variance approach, they are intertwined. So that's the first piece of the pyramid. I think that's what his and our objection.
Let me ask then, so if there's a runoff problem, how is that affected by the elevation of the building?
If you
It's raising the grade.
If you folks approve a plan which specifically states, which on Kurt's side, you know, between the Smiths and the Dillmeyers, there is a notation that says grade varies, and on our side it has this, I don't know where they pulled these topo contours from, but they're, when you can come to our house and just stand there and look, and it's below our grade, and our grade's at 8.05, and they're saying it's 10, and they have a big notation on the plan that says raised grade is required.
Yeah.
If you approve these plans and they get through, this is why I introduced this whole thing with Lori Wiltshire, like the building department.
Well,
you know,
the Lori Wiltshire application was a very rare,
Oh, I know it is,
and
but-
really
but-
unfortunate set of circumstances. But because I gotta tell you, those folks and people who aren't in compliance with FEMA, and I don't know whether your house is or isn't.
It's going to be once we're done with
your
our-
flood insurance is through the roof. The community rating for having a lot of properties that are not compliant with FEMA becomes a problem for the entire town, actually. So we want people to comply with FEMA.
No, and we're doing the
That's-
same with our
okay.
building.
And we're
I wanna-
happy that they're improving their property, and we understand.
Right.
I'm sure if they didn't have to spend the extra money to raise their house, they would not want to. And, you know, but they have to. We understand that. But there are things like, the architect has septic, not an exact location, somewhere around here. We know that by living right there in our front yard, the septic system seems to be right on top of our property line, and it's had to be serviced.
And the septic system is health department.
Yeah,
So-
but are there not supposed to be offsets?
Okay, that is for the health department to deal with, not for our board.
So you do not deal with variances for offsets of existing non-conforming, non-compliant septic systems?
We do
that are too
not
close
deal
to a
with
property line?
anything related to septic systems. Septic systems are the health department, not our board.
Sometimes we deal with them when there's a location issue, the septic has to be
that's-
located here,
that's
and then we
what I'm-
have to do a setback in order to accommodate.
But they have to have health department approval.
But health department
for
has
the
to
septic system.
decide where the
And if
septic
the health department says it needs to be at a particular location, or to have a barrier or whatever the case might be, that's all
Yeah, but they're,
out of our
okay,
purview.
so they're
So-
proper,
Can I
okay,
ask a,
sorry, John.
hold on, so what about this application makes you think that there's an application to raise grade?
Because
That's
they're-
what I'd like to know,
because
and I'd
it's-
like to, and I'd
Well,
like to find
the
out
survey
from the
actually
applicant whether or
says-
not there
And
is.
the application says raise grade as required.
on the architectural plans, on the south facade of the property.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
and.
And that's the primary
but-
concern,
Yeah, but
I would say.
our focus as a board is what do they need a variance for?
No, I know,
Yeah,
and
but if
then
you
what
stamp
Susan
an
said, though,
incomplete or
it's hard.
inaccurate plan, and
How are we
it finds
considering
its
the
way
variance?
through town hall, and then all of a sudden,
Well,
you know.
I think that, just for what it's worth, I
Yeah.
think we're hearing you, but so is the applicant. And the applicant is gonna be submitting information, we're gonna ask them to submit information that clarifies and addresses
Right.
the concerns that you're bringing up.
We just don't wanna be flooded out, cause we're already,
Well, and that's another thing I wanna mention.
Yeah.
So when it comes to runoff,
Mhm.
the engineering department in the town is gonna require
Right,
that each property, absent a severe storm, contains their own runoff. That's what engineering is gonna require.
yeah, but the plan that engineering from Tom, I have an email that I can print out from Tom Houghton, okay? That says, I did not approve the plan that said raise grade as required. So in the neophyte stages of the permitting process, they give Tom Houghton a very basic, bird's eye survey, and it's almost like boilerplate, And then all of a sudden, if someone along in the process of going through the different departments, introduces a plan with different notations on it, and then.
Yeah, and I gotta say, and I just had to say another thing. When I have, when we as a board hear
Yeah.
someone objecting to the work of a surveyor or an architect or some other licensed person, generally, my response is, do you have a licensed person that can say that that information is wrong? I mean, we'll have the building department analyze what has been submitted. We're gonna ask the applicant to address your concerns, but it's very hard, and maybe you are licensed,
No, I'm not.
And I
I'm
don't
not.
think he's saying
Okay.
anybody did, it's just, it is very vague, and that's, again,
So
specifically
you
to the
wanna know
variance.
what is the starting elevation before they raise it?
Where does the house live
Well,
now
what is the
officially?
Where
pyramid
is-
law,
where is
what
it
is the
now?
sky plane
So
penetration,
we're
I
gonna,
think is.
we're
So
gonna
we're
ask the
gonna-
applicant to
So
answer
that's
these
one-
questions.
That
Wait,
could
what-
be an
so-
interesting piece of information.
Say that again, what do you?
This is
about the-
going on for way too long.
Yeah, I know.
No,
Yeah,
no,
I
I
know.
understand, so the sky
Yeah, yeah.
plane, we were asked
Oh,
as
I know.
neighbors to
I know.
consider a variance
Yeah, yeah,
request
yeah.
that contemplated approval for pyramids,
Mhm.
pyramid line penetration, right? And it was quoted specifically how much we're talking about, but without actual spot elevations,
Okay.
how do you really know that that's accurate?
Okay.
So that's just logical.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
no,
All
no,
right.
and I
That's
don't
fair.
wanna get too far down the road on
Yep,
that, and I
yep.
know we talked about it for a bit.
Yep, and we
A
have,
second
we have,
is
we have,
that-
we have a bunch of other people
Mark,
waiting to be
okay.
I
heard.
also have an
Yep.
objection to the
Yep.
fact that he claims he has an LNJ, which he does have an LNJ, but the fact that his roof line in the master bedroom goes into the 50-foot from bulkhead jurisdiction. Where's his building envelope? Like, he's gotta actually go into town conservation jurisdiction to
Okay.
actually
Right, so Mark, I'm
dig
gonna
for a
continue
footing.
on the
So,
variance
so,
stuff.
so we've covered a lot of information,
I still have
and in
variance.
addition to that, you can submit things in writing to
Yeah.
us,
For us,
okay? Because we're certainly not closing the public hearing
Yeah,
tonight.
no, so the second variance issue, and I actually didn't realize it until tonight's hearing, was about the 2 feet of the kitchen expansion. So the initial variance that was approved in the late 70s for this property for side yard setback was specific to the kitchen. It wasn't a blanket for the entirety of the property. I'm not sure what the reference was to the garage, but the records will show you that it was actually the kitchen. So they want to expand the kitchen again. I didn't know today that was another 2 feet towards our side, and our house is literally, I'm surprised it's even 7 feet
Yeah,
against the
we're at
property
7.
line. So it's not even just a view. Their
Okay.
kitchen door will open up to our side yard more than it had already been approved from a variance from the 70s.
Okay, all right.
And then there's this master bedroom that hasn't been explained too. That, I know that you asked Aram, Mr. Tertunian, to explain that. The master bedroom is not proposed to be in the garage. It's actually a jut out. And that's what Mr. Dillmeyer was referring to. It juts out and is further towards the property, closer to him.
Okay.
So there seems to be a couple of misconceptions here that.
Okay, a lot of
again,
information, I
Yeah.
greatly appreciate you coming, you're taking the time to be here
Yeah.
and explain this to us. We're gonna ask the applicant to get us the answers.
Perfect.
Okay. All
Thank
right?
you for
And,
hearing
and,
us.
and this is not being closed tonight, so there'll be another date. You'll
Appreciate
know
it.
that date
Thank
shortly.
you all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Pick a date, let's go.
Yep.
Okay,
Matt,
we
I'm
will
out.
answer all those questions. We've noted every
Guys.
comment, every question.
Good.
We will answer them in writing. If you could give us a date, preferably in September, if that's possible.
Okay,
That's very
we
nice.
have
That's
September
very nice.
7th.
Thank you.
We have, let me see, September 7th.
It's
Would that date work?
Would that work for you, Aaron?
Or September 21st.
The 21st, I think, would do it.
That's
Yeah.
full, though. Didn't you say
full.
that's the one where you've got?
Where we have a couple of long
7th,
ones.
not so full, then we'll take the 7th.
Yeah,
The
I'm
seventh,
not
the
sure.
7th is the better of the two.
Okay,
in
we'll
terms
take
of-
the
Better too, she said, I don't know if the ones on the 21st are even gonna show up. At
Yeah.
this point, I don't.
I understand.
We'll take the 7th then.
I'll make a motion to hold this over for all purposes to September 7th.
Thanks, Mr.
Second.
Tuttle.
Okay, Mr. Tudhill. Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you all for being here tonight. Appreciate your comments.
I'm sorry, who made that second?
I did.
John.
Item 10 on the agenda is Jennifer and Lee McCabe, 11 Westwood Drive in Noyak, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-17-1-81. It's held over from our June 1st meeting.
Okay. Oh, I remember that.
Hello.
Hello,
Good evening.
good evening.
All right, so you're back.
So we're back. This is a continuation from June 1st. This is 11 Westwood Drive in Noyak. Just to refresh your memory, we're asking for a variance from the street from 35 feet to 30 feet because we're on wetlands in a flood zone on an oddly shaped lot where we're being pushed into the corner closer to the road and closer to the eastern property line. At the last meeting, we had requested pyramid relief of 4,545 cubic feet. I submitted, actually since then, I don't know if you guys see things when, okay. So, two plans. One where the ceiling heights are reduced from 10 and 9 to 9 and 9, which reduces the pyramid relief requested from 4,545 down to 3,491. So it's reduced by over 1,000 cubic feet, which I think is substantial. This brings the height of the proposed house down to 26 feet. And you had also requested to know the height of the existing house. I was able to locate the original building permit application that was approved in 1983 and then again in 84, which I guess they had to renew it. The height was 24 feet 6 inches.
Right, so you're at 26 with this.
So this current proposal will be at 26.
24.6, right?
Yeah, so we're going up, the peak goes up from 24 and a half to 26, so 1.5 feet higher for the peak. We're still well under the allowable 32-foot maximum. And that's basically from grade, not elevation. We are in a flood zone and we do comply with FEMA, but the FEMA requirement basically coincides with grade here. It's an AE6 flood zone. So we're actually a little bit above that at 9.5. So,
All right, so we have some reduction in cubic feet of pyramid relief. I think that was part of the conversation that we had last time.
And there were two options you considered.
We
with
considered-
different ceiling heights,
Right.
and you have a preferred option. Why don't you explain that?
we do have a preferred option. So the ceiling heights went from 10 and 9 to 9 and 9 for first floor and second floor. And that brings us down by over 1,000 cubic feet. If we reduce the second floor to 8 feet, it doesn't help that much. It only reduces the cubic feet to 3,250. So it only saves us 241 cubic feet. So they'd be losing a foot of ceiling height, which they really, really don't want to do. for only a very marginal, small decrease in cubic feet of pyramid. So we went through this exercise just to demonstrate that that doesn't really help that much. Bringing it down 1 foot helps considerably. And so they're happy to make that adjustment.
Well, thank you for the effort that went into
Yes.
this. Now I just want to see where we are as to whether we're okay with the revised pyramid relief number.
I'm certainly more satisfied with the revised pyramid relief. And I'm also happy to hear about what the height is, because one of the neighbors who was objecting was really concerned about the height of the building, and if it's already exists at 24.6 and you're going to 26, it's like negligible increase.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's negligible increase in height, so.
Okay.
I need to use my phone to be able to see. I can't read your plans.
Do you want to see the full-size one?
No, it's okay.
You bring a magnifying glass.
I'm just magnifying it,
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
using it as a
yeah.
magnifying
Okay.
glass, it's okay.
Okay.
Right.
I did submit 2 sets of full-size.
Here, you can look at this.
Grandpa, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Broken up, but-
In the meantime, any other questions? Is there anyone from the public who'd like to be heard in connection with this application, with the application of McCabe for property located at 11 Westwood Drive in Noyak? Is there anyone who's waiting to be heard on Zoom in connection with this application, which again is for property located at 11 Westwood Drive in Noyak? If you're waiting to be heard on Zoom, this would be the time to let us know by raising your hand. No hands, okay.
Okay, so it's mine, so I'm going to close the public hearing, leave it open for written comments till August 4th with a decision on August 17th.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Kern?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. Daly?
I actually realize that I'm recused from that,
Oh, okay.
but I was
All right.
gone for most of it anyway.
Okay. Ms. Burgess?
I don't feel threatened.
Mr. Tudhill? Chair votes aye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm here for the next one.
Okay.
You're here too.
That's tonight's the theme,
Yeah.
like
2
kind
in
of
a
two
row.
at a time, yeah. Okay.
Eugenia Pesta,
Ah.
6262 West Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-391-1-34. This is held over from June 1st also.
Okay.
Okay, so to refresh your memory on this application, this is 626 Dune Road in West Hampton, just east of West Hampton Dunes. There's an existing 1-story residence. I submitted photos at the last meeting, which is elevated on pilings. We're keeping the piling foundation, we're keeping the existing 1-story and proposing a 2nd story on top of that. Since the previous hearing, I submitted a revised plan which reduces the pyramid by over 50%. We were proposing 12,221 cubic feet for a full 2nd story. This reduces it to 6,052 cubic feet, 0.87. What they've done is they've done a completely flat roof, and in addition, they've reduced the square footage of the 2nd story, so that instead of being the entire 1st floor being replicated with a 2nd story on top, it's only about 2/3 of the 1st story that would be replicated with a 2nd story on top. So we would have a 2nd story deck over part of that, so that would be flat. So that reduces the amount of house front to back, so that decreases your volume of pyramid relief that's required.
Okay.
So we're down to less than half of where we started.
Yep. Question is whether it's down enough. I do not know.
Yeah, between the 2 applications, she's only looking for almost 10,000 cubic feet.
Well, they're not next to each other, so we're
No, I
spreading
know
it out.
that. I'm just saying, you know?
But this one started out with a really big number.
Yeah.
So.
It did, and it is, I think, a very unique, well, that's redundant. It's a unique situation.
Mhm.
I should never say very unique. It's a unique situation because there's an existing house that's there that we're not demolishing. We've had an engineer come and look at it, look at the pilings. They're keeping the pilings. They are keeping the first story and just adding on to that. It's not a huge house. The square footage is very modest. I think it's 1,600 square feet existing, more or less. So it's still a modest size house.
So at this point, I want to just confirm that this is, in your opinion, as much as you can do in terms of reducing the pyramid.
Unless they just go to a one-story house and just refurbish what they've got. I mean, that is the,
Ding, 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 ding.
That's-
We have a winner.
that is the only thing. I mean, but this neighborhood is filled with two-story homes. It's across the street from the ocean. It's not a neighbor, I mean, that's not the character of the neighborhood. The neighborhood is lots of houses that don't conform with pyramid and are up on pilings and are two stories. I don't think you'll find very many one-story houses in the entire neighborhood.
And still 8-foot ceilings and 32-foot height?
Yes.
With pilings?
Yeah, this is
Right.
the house that has the exceedingly high pylons that it's on.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Which is existing, and I would never recommend that they lower the existing house. It's in a flood zone, it's across the street from the ocean, it's right on Mauritius Bay. They're only 16 feet from the wetlands, I believe.
I actually took a drive down through the road, I think it was last weekend, and, it is extraordinary. All these houses, tiny, narrow lots,
Mhm.
and all these houses that are up on pilings. It may be, Suzanne is telling us that these are two-story, generally. I don't know the exact location.
Did you see two-story houses, a lot of two-story houses?
Oh, I saw, yeah, I did. But
The
I don't know
houses
if
on
it-
either side are two stories.
Right. But it's extraordinary, these big houses on narrow lots. That
This-
seems to be the nature of it.
But this lot is only 50 feet wide, so we have that hardship, which
Yeah.
is pre-existing condition.
Everybody has that hardship down there.
The first floor elevation is only 14.5, which is not excessive. Across the street from the ocean on Dune Road, where a lot of the houses.
How high are the pilings?
The grade is about 4 there, the natural grade, so you've got about 10 feet of pilings, including the undergirdings, which takes up about 2 feet actually. So you've got about 8 feet up to the ceiling basically of the garage.
Yeah.
And the
So-
garage level, the floor level is unfinished. It's not one of these cases where you've got, a de facto third story. It's open pilings on the ground.
Not habitable.
It's not habitable
Yeah.
space, no.
So, in my view, we have an applicant that's trying to do everything, absent it being a one-story house, to reduce the pyramid, and there's been a significant reduction. On the other hand, we started at a very high number. So, I'm not exactly sure where members of the board are.
What's the square
on this
footage of
number.
the house?
The existing is 1457,
Proposed?
and proposed, let me plans. Look at my full system.
3924?
No, that's not right.
It says, oh, that includes decks.
Yeah, that,
Proposed house.
sorry. 33 times 24. So the second story is 792 square feet. Plus 14. So the whole house, including the proposed second story, is 2250, more or less.
But it's a narrow lot, and that's part of what's driving this, and it's FEMA compliance, raising it, it's driving this, so.
Well, it's already raised.
It's raised.
It's raised, but I mean, it has to be, so what they're doing on it is, we're not in an area where that's not an issue, it is an issue. So the question is, where we wanna go? Whether this is acceptable.
I'm not in favor of it, but that's just me.
I'm concerned, let me say that. I have to think about this.
I'm not really in favor, Suzanne, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's
Same
it's
here.
it's a lot, and I understand all the constraints, but this is what you bought. You know, they bought a house on a small piece of property, and, you know, I think Keith always says buyer beware, I mean, right? Don't you say
Caveat
that? Yeah,
emptor.
and it's a little bit like, you know, this is a small piece of property, and, you know, I'm concerned.
And while it may be in the character of the neighborhood that there are other two stories, it may be substantial. I mean, even at the number we're at now. But
Even though this board, I mean, I submitted at the previous hearing multiple cases where this board has approved much higher numbers.
What years and which board, and, you know, we don't go with, you know, precedent.
I'm not in favor of it. I think it needs to be reduced.
so that would definitely be 4.
That's
Yeah.
not looking good.
Yeah.
All right, I would suggest we hold it open
Yep.
again.
Sure. Sure. Okay. All right, so the next question is when you wanna come back. I don't know how much time you need to do all of the work on this one. The next meeting
the next
is
day?
August 3rd, the following meeting is August 17th, and then we have 2 meetings in September.
We'd have to put it out till September.
Okay, September 7th or September 21st. September 21st is a bit of a.
We do
Unknown.
the 7th would work.
Okay, so we'll keep it open until September 7th?
Okay, so I will move to.
Oh, hold on, before you do that.
Oh,
let me
wait,
just-
you have to
yeah,
do-
yeah,
let's see if anybody else is-
Yes,
Sorry.
yes, is there anyone who would like to be heard who's in the audience in connection with the application of Presta this evening? This is a property located at 626 Dune Road in West Hampton. Is there anyone who's waiting to be heard on Zoom in connection with this application, which is again for property located at 626 Dune Road, West Hampton? If you're waiting to be heard on Zoom, this would be the time to let us know by raising your hand. No hands, okay. John?
Okay, I move to hold the public hearing on this application open to September 7th.
Second.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. Daly?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess? Mr. Tudhill?
Aye.
Ms. Kern?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work on this, Bernard.
We're trying.
12, Jim Lynn Realty Inc., 47A on Lynn Avenue in Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-269-2-17.3. This is held over from June 1st meeting also.
Okay, good evening. I believe I previously swore you in? Or
Yeah,
maybe-
last
yes.
time around.
Okay, so you're still sworn in, so if you can just state your name for the record.
Great, yep, my name's Andrew Graham.
Okay.
I'll just hand some paperwork in before I
Sure.
get started.
Hey.
These are all just copies.
Okay.
Okay, and give us an update.
Okay, so, last time I was here, you wanted the total increase in nonconformity.
Mm-hmm.
So I did prepare a little schedule here,
Okay.
which I'll hand down to you.
Yep.
But, there was a prior addition on the rear house on this property in 2004.
Okay.
And in here, I gave the CO, which we don't have any plans or anything, but the permit information card at the town indicates it's 206 square feet, and the old survey shows that as well, the little hatched areas of where the addition actually occurred.
Okay.
So, so if we take the existing house square footage, take away that number, take away the 206 square feet, and then add the square footage of the front house, which is in the set of plans there too.
Yep.
We have a total square footage between the two original houses. The original non-conforming square footage is 2,012 square feet. And total addition square footage, the 04 addition and the now proposed addition, it's gonna be 889. That works out to about 44%.
Okay.
And yeah, so that's where we left off.
Yeah, no,
So-
that's what we needed.
Yeah.
We needed just to know what those percentages were and what the number was,
Yeah.
to make sure that we weren't over 50%.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I think that was what we were asking for. I'm not sure if there were other questions that were raised or follow-up information that you have related to the
Yeah,
application.
I believe that they want a set of plan, or Mr.
Plans.
Plan wanted a set of plans,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's there if you would like to look at it.
Thank you.
Okay, okay, very,
Appreciate that.
very
But
good.
I just, because I wasn't here at the last one, I just want to understand it. So it says the existing rear house, 2004 addition,
Yeah.
proposed. Oh, all right, so I see here. So the 2000, you've identified the 2004 addition as 206 square feet, right?
Yep.
I'm having trouble.
So am I.
Yeah, it's a
I
little-
mean-
This is very confusing.
Yeah, so.
I
so
understand the bottom line, but I don't know how you got to it.
So when I say existing rear house, I mean existing as in today's conditions. I should have been more clear, but
Right, so
existing today.
The 1498, what is that?
So that's it right now.
That's the rear
yeah,
house.
Current conditions on the rear house. Yeah.
1498, okay.
And
And the
there's,
rear house is the Lynn Avenue house or the Shinnecock Bayside house?
the Bayside.
The Bayside, okay. The larger of the
Yes,
two
correct.
structures?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Okay.
that's total square foot is 1498.
Yes,
And then you're
current.
proposing adding the
These are the
683
originals.
Yep.
to that,
Yep.
all right?
There was an addition which
In 2004, yeah.
in 2004, which added on 206.
Mhm.
And that's part of the 1498?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's why, so when you go down to,
How about,
Un-
we
underneath
have-
the square
no,
footage.
we have to do this differently.
Yeah,
What,
yeah.
what is, there are two houses.
Yep.
What were the pre-existing square footage of each house?
of each house, so, the front house is 720,
Uh-huh.
and I can take out my calculator, but I can tell you, it's 1498 minus the 206, so
I'm gonna run out for a second.
1292.
Is the rear house.
Just when we have to do math.
Yeah.
The original.
So the original rear house is 1292, the original front house is
1292?
Yeah.
No, what?
So that's how I got to the original square footage nonconformity there, the
Okay.
1292 plus 720.
1292 was the original for the rear house.
Yes.
Wait,
1292 is the rear, 720
And the
is
front was 720. Okay.
Correct.
Where's
Then-
the 1498? Wait a second. What's the 1498?
That's it in its current conditions with the 2004 edition.
Oh, okay.
So if we take the 1498 and subtract the 206,
okay.
then you get 1292.
All right, so today it's 1498, and the first
Correct.
house is 720,
Right.
today,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, can I just finish my questions though?
Yep.
So there was a 206 addition to the rear house,
Yeah, 206 square feet.
and there's been nothing to the front.
No.
And what's proposed?
The 683
To the, which one?
to the rear.
To the rear. 683 is proposed. So if we have 12. So you have the pre-existing non-conforming, okay, so you have the pre-existing non-conforming
2012.
as 2012, okay. Half of that you're saying is 889? No?
So the 889 is the total increase, so the total additions.
No, 2012 is
Total
the
pre-existing,
original.
right.
And it's 1006.
Okay.
The way I look at it, in
2006.
2004, you added
1006.
206 and the 683.
I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we under the 50 or what?
Yes,
So it gets
yes.
you to
He said he was under the 50, I
44.18.
just couldn't follow along.
Yeah, sorry,
and
it
I
wasn't
wasn't
a-
here for the first hearing.
Yeah,
Oh, remember one of those days off?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Oh, here's one.
good luck.
I wrote all over Keith's because I was getting stressed.
We can do math.
Okay. Did you submit the plans to us?
Yes.
Yes.
All of us
He's-
have copies?
No.
No, there's just,
No.
I submitted one full-size copy.
Okay, because don't we all need to take a look?
I got it right here.
Heath has the huge ones.
7 members of the board, but you can only submit one.
Would you be able?
7, 11 by 17,
Yeah. Would
7
you?
copies, 11 by 17 of the plan
Okay.
you just submitted.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'll distribute it to the board.
I don't know, I just want to
Okay.
make sure I get a copy at some point. to look at. But thank you.
As long as he's under 50%.
Yep,
For me.
okay. All right, in the absence of the chair, I will ask, does anybody have any other questions from the board? Is there anyone in the audience who has questions about the property located at 47A Lynn Avenue in Hampton Bays? Is there anybody on Zoom that has questions about 47A Lynn Avenue?
No one on Zoom.
Okay. Keith, it's yours.
Okay. I'll make a motion to close. Written subs. What's that date?
8/4.
8/4?
Yeah.
With a determination on 8/17.
Did we do anyone from the public?
Yep.
We did.
We
that?
did,
Okay.
we did.
Okay, excellent, just one.
Susan did an excellent job in her
Excellent,
absence.
excellent.
Right.
What was that second?
Me?
Okay, Mike, you're the second?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Tudhill,
Aye.
Mr. Daly,
Aye.
Mr. Leonard,
Aye.
Ms. Kern,
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
I
Chair votes aye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, item 13 is Joseph Alosio, 219 Ocean View Parkway in North Sea, Suffolk County Taps Map, 900-64-1-46.3. This is held over from 5/4/6/15. Let's do it.
I don't know if he's here.
Who's he?
I'm not,
You're
objecting.
You're an objector.
Okay,
Is
all
he
right.
on Zoom?
Firstly, this
Well-
is
well-
my first time here. I gotta
Okay,
be
we gotta
sworn
find,
in.
we gotta find out if they may be on Zoom possibly.
Okay.
So, Kevin, do you have anybody waiting on Zoom in connection with this is the application of Eluisio?
I have 0 people on Zoom.
Zero. You do not.
0.
Okay,
Negative
so
people.
without the applicant here, all we can do is second call it. They're supposed to be here tonight.
Do we give this gentleman an opportunity to
No,
make comments
no,
without
no,
the,
no, without the applicant there.
so,
Yep, very unfair, very unfair. Yep. Who is it that's supposed to be here?
This on Ocean View Parkway?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Is it
Hold
the
on,
owner
sir.
or-
Aloysiu? Yeah, he's also the applicant.
You're the applicant, you're the property owner?
No.
no.
You're the
no.
object, you're the neighbor, that's what I
Right.
thought. Okay.
I mean,
All right, we're gonna
statute-
second call, okay? I don't think that's gonna produce anything, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Wait, hold
yeah.
But anyhow, then we're gonna go on to 14, which is
And-
Daniel.
Wait,
Hold on a
I
second.
want to answer Adam's question. It was, the last people that were here was the son.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
the son of the owner.
Yeah.
And an architect.
Yeah,
That's correct.
okay. And it was adjourned till tonight, and they are not here.
5/4.
They are not here.
well, but the code is very specific.
Okay, I understand, but we, without the applicant being here, we can't get testimony from one side with the other side here. We just can't, not with the without the applicant here, unfortunately.
And
Yeah.
weren't you
Alright.
supposed to, rule on that, on the original one? I don't think he filed it.
Yeah, they were supposed to come back and modify the plans, and
Right.
that's,
They did.
that's
Right.
correct. And that's why the board is frustrated, because that, not only did we not get anything, it
But they
doesn't
didn't
look
show
like,
up.
oh, actually, no, we did get something, right? Candace? Oh, no, it was May, it was in May.
yeah.
Yeah,
Not only,
and
yeah,
not-
not
Haven't
only
done
did they
anything,
not
just
give
pretty
us
much just
anything, but
forgot
they
about
they didn't even notify us that they weren't gonna be here, which means that you've wasted your time.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
very upsetting. So that's what we're saying, we'll hear the next application, we'll wait and see if these guys come.
And if not, we really have no
But-
Are
choice.
you
but-
folks ready to proceed?
Yeah, I mean, do we need
But
to
can we
make him
close
wait some more to?
I'm not gonna close it. I'm gonna put it off for a second call.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna
I
set a
just-
call, that's what we
But,
normally do.
Susan's right, Susan's right, if
I
he's not
mean,
here now, he's not gonna come.
I think we should just
Yeah.
dismiss it for tonight, because it's not fair to have you sit here and listen
No.
to another application after you spent all this time here.
No, that's
Okay,
true.
all right, so we have the first meeting in September, September seventh. Okay, so I will make a motion that we adjourn this application for all purposes until our September 7th meeting.
How do I know if he's gonna show up? I've been
Check,
here
check,
all night.
check with Candace that day.
She'll give him a call.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But also
I
maybe
second it.
Zoom,
Okay.
maybe Zoom the next time.
Okay, and I'm sorry about this, I feel badly, but there's just nothing else we can do. Okay, Mr. Leonard,
Aye.
Mr. Daly,
Nay.
okay.
What do you say now?
I wanna dismiss it.
You wanna dismiss it?
No.
That's what
Yeah,
you should do.
no, okay.
Can't do
Ms.
But that's
Burgess.
my vote.
Okay, Ms. Burgess. Aye.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, Mr. Tudhill. Aye. Ms. Curdy.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, so it's adjourned for all purposes until our September 7th meeting.
All right, 14, Daniel Gutierrez, 46 Springville Road, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-260-2-15. It's held over from our July 6th meeting.
Yeah. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Doing okay.
I'm here.
We're very excited to hear the update.
It's pretty
Look at all these
straightforward.
people waiting to hear as well in the audience.
So, I submitted plans, about 10 days ago to Marjorie for her response, but I did meet with her, but then I also submitted plans, but she said she didn't get a chance to look it up. That was today. But, if, in our meeting, what she was looking for is the floor plans to determine parking on the property.
Okay.
Because, once you get over 3, you get 1 less per bedroom. So we are at 5 bedrooms, which only technically allows us for parking for 4 cars. Unfortunately, I have enough room in the driveway, so we're requesting that we can bump it to the 5, because we are also closing off, if you recall from the first hearing, we were closing off the front driveway on Springville Road, which is already 90% closed off. Because that's it's a busy road, and we don't want any issues with his children or anybody else coming out of there. So we're requesting that, and then we also have the gravel driveway that is on Ocean Avenue, which is not used for parking. That is just for him to unload his construction equipment into the shed. So if you feel
Was he
that.
running a business out of a residential area?
No, just his tools. But he did say, and if the board requested, if it came down to it, that he would also get rid of that driveway. He just wants to be able to, for the future, that when his children start to drive, that, once you have one in the garage, you still have room for cars, and he just doesn't wanna have a problem down the road that, I've never technically seen it enforced except for in rental properties where you're over your limit, because, you can't really drive down a road and say, well, how many bedrooms, look at all these cars, you don't know unless you go into the house.
They're having dinner.
Right, you could be having a dinner party, whatever.
Exactly.
So that was that. We also spoke about, we discussed the garage in depth. I spoke to Marjorie again about the fencing and the shrubbery that will be moved back. The owner is obviously aware of that. That's also going to be continued from the engineering and highway department, because it is, he was a little upset because his neighbor is in the same spot. I said, well, your neighbor's not here. We're here. This is where we're at. So.
So describe that again to me? So
So-
what is he gonna do about the fence and the shrubbery?
Well, the fence is gonna be removed, and there's shrubbery, which it doesn't show it on the survey,
Yeah,
but
not there yet.
the shrubbery is right up against the fence, and that's gonna be all pulled back or removed completely. But we have to comply with that anyway, because that's part of the, we're in a right of way. The highway department already has flagged that. And I did speak to Marjorie, and she didn't know that, so I confirmed that with her also to tell her the same. So,
Is that on which side of the property is that? Here?
On the Atlantic Avenue
Oh, on
side?
the Atlantic, I'm sorry, I was
Yeah,
looking
so
at
if you
the
look at
side.
the main driveway, if you see that plastic
see.
fence there,
Yeah, yeah.
the part of the driveway
Is
and
in the right of way,
yeah,
yeah,
which,
okay,
you know,
got
it's,
it.
it's a,
Yeah.
it's not a paved road.
Mhm.
It's a, basically a bluestone dirt road. So I don't even consider that part of the driveway, but, you know, if that's what the surveyor put it as, it's just, right now, it's actually the same thing as what the driveway is, because there is no driveway, it's, you know, hasn't been paved or anything yet, so.
Is
We're
this
just,
the-
we
is
know
this
that we're not going to
proposed
go that far.
Garage in the side yard? It is in the side yard.
Yep,
Yes.
That's what the relief is.
Yes, that's what.
that's one of the ones that doesn't benefit from the
Doesn't
yard's
benefit.
Yes,
extension.
this one does not benefit.
And you did not discuss moving it and attaching it to the proposed addition, correct?
He was not really in favor. I asked him, but he would prefer it. It's still, and that's what he wants. I'm just, you know.
All right.
So at this point, we're down to the garage and the extra parking spot. And that's it, unless you have any other questions that I can answer.
I don't have any questions.
No. Keith, you pondering over there?
And this
I
one-
am.
This one had three
I'm
front
not gonna
yards.
tell you what I'm pondering.
This is wits end.
Yes, we have 3 front yards. That's obviously the difficulty of the whole process.
And numerous.
What do you wanna do, Helen?
Are we ready?
Well, just want to make sure there isn't anybody on Zoom. There wasn't anybody before, but I just want to make sure. Is there anyone waiting to be heard in connection with the application of Gutierrez for property located at 46 Springville Road in Hampton Bays, or who waiting to be heard on Zoom? This would be the time to let us know by raising your hand.
0.
No hands and nobody in the audience. Okay, so,
Wait, no, hold on, before you
yes.
go, just one, because I missed the beginning of the hearing. Did you see the email from Marge from
Yeah, I just
this
explained it.
morning?
Yes.
Okay, that's what issue, so it.
Yeah, and I also explained to her that I did drop off hard copies.
You did, okay.
Yeah, over a week ago, so.
Go ahead,
So I would
Helen.
meet with her again.
Okay, we're gonna close the public hearing. We're gonna, leave it open for, written submissions till August 4th, with a decision on August 17th. And I have no objection to this application. I did visit the property, and I don't find it objectionable.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Burgess,
I,
Mr. Daly, Mr. Leonard,
Aye.
I
Kern.
have 2 sets of
Aye.
floor plans if you.
Mr. Tudhill.
Yep, thank you.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you, Kevin.
Okay,
Thank you.
we're moving on to amendments.
Should be out
My
here quick.
favorite topic,
Yeah.
amendments.
Those are always fun.
All right, Juan Carlos Trellis, 25 Fordham Drive, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-264-3-29.
Okay, I have an amended decision. Go ahead, finish reading.
Do you want me to read it? If you don't want me to read it, I won't read it.
Do we need him to read it? We need you to read it.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, read
Give
it.
to us,
It's
huh?
short.
On June 15, 2023, this board by decision number D-023072 granted variances for a proposed one-story addition. This decision is being amended to correct a scrivener's error.
Okay, so I have an amended decision for the application of Juan Carlos Trellis for property located at Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-264-329. On June 15, 2023, this board by decision number D-023072 granted variances for a proposed one-story addition. This decision, however, did not refer to the correct date on the survey. Therefore, decision number D-023072 is hereby amended to refer to the survey prepared by Gary Benz, surveyor, last dated March 21st, 2023. All other provisions and conditions of decision number D-023072 remain in full force and effect.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Mr. Tudhill.
All right.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Item 16, Barbara A. Rosenthal, 15 Nets Place, Flanders, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-147-1-16.1. On July 6, 2023, this board by decision number D-023085 granted variances in connection with the reconstruction of a dwelling on a lot that benefits from 2 one-family dwellings. This decision is being amended to correct a scrivener's error.
I have an amended decision on the application of Barbara A. Rosenthal for property located at Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-147-116.1. On July 6, 2023, this board, by decision number D023085, granted variances in connection with the reconstruction of a dwelling on a lot that benefits from 2 one-family dwellings. This decision, however, did not refer to the correct date on the survey. Therefore, decision number D023085 is hereby amended to refer to the survey prepared by Nathan Taft Corwin III, last revised May 26, 2023. All other provisions and conditions of decision number D023085 remain in full force and effect.
Second.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Mr. Tuthill.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. And I have decisions. I have 2 of them. I have a decision in the matter of the application of 204 Butter WB LLC for property located at Suffolk County Tax Map Number 98517.2. This application is for property located at 204 Butter Lane, Bridgehampton. Applicant requests a variance for parking spaces at a physical fitness facility. This project is considered an unlisted action pursuant to SECRA, and this board conducted an uncoordinated review. At the recommendation of planning staff, this board adopts a negative declaration finding that the project will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts. This application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and the Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from Town Code 33095, Schedule of Off-Street Parking Space Requirements for non-residential uses, to allow 18 parking spaces where a minimum of 36 parking spaces is required for a physical fitness facility and warehouse with on-site parking, as shown on the alignment plan prepared by Vincent Gaudiello, engineer, dated January 5th, 2023, and the existing conditions survey prepared by Michael J. Rayner, surveyor, last dated July 6, 2023. This parking variance is in connection to the use of the premises as a physical fitness facility with 1. Monitored customer check-ins, 2. Advanced reservations for group fitness and personal training sessions, 3. Spaced out classes to avoid overlap in arrival/departure, 4. Minimal locker room amenities with no showers, and 5. A maximum occupancy of 48 people. Grant of the foregoing relief is subject to such other conditions and permits as applicant has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises, including the removal or legalization of the sheds on the premises prior to the issuance of any certificate for the gym and upon any planning board conditions. Any change in the nature of the business model for the fitness facility requires review by this board to ensure compliance with the town code parking regulations.
Wait, can you just say the tax map number again for me?
Sure, 98517.1.
Okay, thank you.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Mr. Tuttle.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. I last have this is our re-decision on the minor variance of Robert Percerni and Nancy Percerni, replacing the prior decision that was granted for property located at, and the prior vote was on July 6, 2023, for property located at Suffolk County Tax Map Number 966-120.16. This minor application is for property located at 14 New Ground Lane, Watermill. Applicants request a variance for a proposed addition to an existing dwelling. This application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and the Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from Town Code 33011, Residence District's Table of Dimensional Regulations, for a principal rear yard setback of 97 feet where 100 feet is required for a proposed addition to an existing dwelling, as shown on the survey prepared by John F. Barilski, surveyor, last updated March 9, 2023, and the floor plans and elevations prepared by Anthony J. Musso, last dated May 16th, 2023, Anthony J. Musso, R.A. Grant of the foregoing relief is subject to such other conditions and permits as applicant has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises.
Second.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Mr. Tuthill.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Motion to
close.
close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are.